Oh, yeah. Oh, hold on. Is my mic? My mic is on. The thing on my mixer is very, very low, so I could not see it. Let me hide some things so we can get going. All right. How is it going, everybody out there? Welcome to the first Friday night of World War III. How is everybody doing out there? We are back. It is, like I said, it is a Friday night. It is another episode of The Good, the Mav, the Ugly, where after a week of bullshit, we hang out here on Friday nights to try and kick off your weekends on a positive note, share with you guys things that are cool, things that are, things suck out there, but there are still some things that we can hang out, laugh, enjoy, and remember why we get up in the morning. As always, I am your host, Mav Spencer, the editor of Bounding Into Comics, however you know me. Maybe you even just know me as that annoying weeb guy in Andrew's server. Maybe you know me as that annoying guy who keeps getting into fights with professionals on Twitter when they keep denigrating our damn work. Either way, welcome back, everybody, or rather, welcome back to all my regular viewers. Welcome for the first time, or welcome in general for everybody else. I don't really have a good lead-in for that. That's sort of just the opening spiel. Obviously, so what am I trying to say here? I don't even know why I'm getting so mixed up. But in terms of what we have for the show tonight, honestly, guys, it has been kind of a quiet week in terms of news. So obviously, as you guys might have caught if you saw the thumbnail or the title description or anything like that, the main thing we're going to talk about tonight is the fact that Donny Cates, the writer of Venom Volume 4, Absolute Carnage, Thor, Incredible Hulk, all that sort of stuff, he was actually supposed to be the original main architect of the Ultimate Universe, the relaunch that Marvel is doing, that, you know, I have gushed about here on this show. I have gushed with my good friend Andrew Rodriguez of the Rippaverse over on our show Foil Variant. It is a pretty interesting reveal, so I figured we could talk about that. We'll dive into that. There is also the new James Gunn Superman trailer, so I figured let's, it's out there. Let's pull it up. Let's see what we've got going on. Let's talk about it. Not spoiler, but I guess a teaser. I'm still really excited about this movie, but I have some things to talk about with that trailer. It's a very odd duck to me. But aside from that, yeah, really, it's sort of an open flow show tonight, right, guys? Obviously, you know me. You know that once we get to the Ultimate Universe and start talking comic books, I will be able to just go. But, you know, if there's anything you guys have on your mind, if there's anything you guys have been, concerned about, not concerned, that's way too dark. Well, yeah, hey, if you're concerned about anything from this past week, if you're interested in anything this past week, let me know in the chat. Obviously, this is a show, this is not just my show, this is a show from you guys to, get your voices out there, talk to people about things, get your frustrations out, and in a way that won't be manipulated and used by just really bad faith actors, right? I'm not here to keep you in the anger and to got to tune in tomorrow so I can talk shit about, whatever, the new Marvel movie. We're here to be real, be intellectually honest, and have fun, because this is still life. It's the only one we've got. We've got to enjoy it while we can. But with that being said, as always, guys, let's get into the chat as soon as... Oh, let me grab my water bottle. It is behind my... Whoa, it's in here. Behind my green screen somewhere. Ah. Woo! All right. Alrighty. Yeesh. Cannot do this show right now without my handy-dandy giant-ass water by my side because, guys, in case you don't remember, I live in freaking Arizona. And in Arizona right now, it is... Here, let's look at my phone. We'll look at my phone, okay? All right, looking at my phone. Where is that? It's 102 right now here where I live. Like, damn, get the hell out. And I have an extreme heat warning. It is, let's see, I don't go lower than 74 degrees. And that's at 5 a.m. tomorrow. So this entire city or this entire state is a monument to man's hubris. We are just spitting in the face of God the more we continue to live out here and hang out out here. But that means I have to stay very, very hydrated because otherwise we're gonna pass out, right? We're gonna have heat stroke while we're doing this. That said, we've got our water. Let's jump into tonight's show. Let's say hello to everybody who's hanging out. Surprisingly, even though I started closer to being on time, we actually have only 2 of our regulars showing up so far. But shout out to Sakura Mita saying, "Can I give you the new ESRB?" Sakura Mita is talking about the little ESRB tag that is on the main title card of the show. 2 things. One, Sakura, so this is to you and this is to anybody else out there, because I have been getting sort of this interaction a lot with various different people. So if you think I'm talking directly at you, I'm not. This is just a general thing I've been noticing that I want to give, life advice out there for. If you've asked a question about something and somebody has already told you an answer, you don't need to keep, you don't need to keep asking them if it's okay to do something. And B, if you do, it's going to annoy the hell out of them, right? So, Sakura, in this case, I told you a couple weeks ago, you don't have to ask if you want to share something. That's why you're in the Discord. You can share freely, but again, my show, I've got a flow going. I've got things to talk about. I may not get to it. So you can share it, but I may not get to it. But that also means, you don't need to bring my attention to everything. You don't need to ask my attention for everything. We're all adults here, right? So if you want to share away, my friend. And, all right. Hey, Punk. Yes, Punk, what is going on? Being late this time wasn't really my fault. It was, I opened up everything, and the chat, or the program Andrew and I use for Foil Variant and for this show to get our comments to pop up, since we're not going natively through StreamYard or anything, it completely lost connection to where we were. And so I tried, activate source, and it just was I don't want to work right now. So I had to do 5 minutes of quick repair on that, and then, just get back into the flow. So regardless, we are here now. And I am, I'm glad to be here with everybody. It's a Friday. It's Friday, guys. We made it. We made it through another week. Shout out to my Magic the Gathering players. It is the release date for the Final Fantasy set. I could honestly talk about that all night, but I also know that's a very niche topic, and that is what I'm going to have my card game show for. So, that all said, what's going on, Punk? Happy to have you. Okay, let's see. Punk says Ballerina was a really good movie, Spencer. I'm glad to hear. I've been hearing. So, okay, this is a little biased. I've been hearing in general that people are enjoying Ballerina. However, if you guys remember, last week I was talking about my friend who is the world-class ballerina. She dances for all the world masters or whatever in the big stages of the world. And she was really, really excited for Ballerina because, oh, cool, it's going to be it's going to put ballet as an integral part of the plot. And of course, she unfortunately was really let down by it because apparently, I have not seen it yet, but talking to her, apparently it doesn't really go how do I put this? The concept of ballet in that movie is apparently used more as a costume than it is something integral to who she is. Sort of if, how do I put this? Imagine if you had a nerd character, but instead of, and that was what you based your entire marketing around. This action hero is going to be a nerd. They're going to, love comic books. They're going to love video games. And then when you go into the movie, all they really do is say, you played video games, right? And it doesn't, they didn't need his skills as a video game player. Him playing video games had no real relevance. Things like that. I don't have a really good one-to-one comparison, guys, and that's only because as I had to explain to her, as I think I've explained to you guys a lot, which is I don't see good movies anymore, right? The nature of my job means I mostly check out, the big tent poles. So obviously your DC stuff, your Marvel stuff, your, Top Gun Mavericks, things like that. Most of those I only watch too because I can't trust the discourse anymore. You guys know that. That's why we're here. That's why we have this show. So many people will be out there, for example, with Thunderbolts, right? I saw so many people going, oh, it's woke, it's, feminist, it's blah, 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 blah. Good job, Bob. And that movie rules. Like, it's actually very, very good. And so if I just relied on third-hand accounts, I wouldn't be a good reporter. You know what I mean? I want everybody out there to know that if I'm reporting on something, I am giving you the truth and I'm giving you the clear read. But that being said, I only get to see bad things, so I have not. I don't have any good comparisons to make to Ballerina. But that being said, I'm glad people are enjoying it. I heard Anna is great in the lead role. Again, I think we talked last week about the weird timeline thing that John Wick is doing, which I'm still not positive on. But hey, at least it's, a good movie. At least you had fun watching it, right, Punk? Hey, that's really all that matters at the end of the day. Even if it is the worst movie, worst video game, worst whatever in the world, if you love it, that is really all that matters in life. It's important to be able to acknowledge, like, yes, these are the flaws of something I love, of something I like, but that's, doesn't mean you have to not like it. That doesn't mean you have to say, oh, there's a flaw in this, I can't like it, I'm ashamed to like it. That, there's that whole concept of, guilty pleasures, where, ooh, don't show anybody, don't tell anybody that I love Attack on Titan. Well, A, you shouldn't tell anybody that, like, just generally don't tell anybody that. And B, I don't believe in that concept. I think if you like something, you like something, and you should embrace the hell out of it. But yeah, so I'm glad you're enjoying it, or I'm glad you enjoyed it, Punk. I will probably get to it eventually, and when I do, I will check back in with you, or you guys, all of y'all out there. Let's see. Punk says, if you think Arizona is fucking very hot, try living in Florida. I don't like either. Like, let's be honest. I have been to Florida a lot. I used to go there on business multiple times a year when I was still working in the corporate sector. And okay, here's the difference, Punk, right? This is like, for me, in general, this is a preference thing, but for me, it's a coin toss on sort of like any given day. Dry heat versus wet heat. In Arizona, it's a very, very dry heat. So when I go outside, it's very like warm and hot, and you can't cool down, and there's no moisture. That sucks. That is real hot. But Florida, much like my home islands back in the Philippines, they are, humid. That sucks like really bad when you like walk out of your hotel and it's hot, sure, but then your clothes start getting all wet and sticky to your arm. No way. But Punk, I'll give you this. In case you haven't ever been there, Louisiana, like New Orleans, fuck that place. Like, I actually genuinely love the city, love the state, love all the people. It's fine. But God, that weather is just the worst. It is max humid, max heat. And then all their special drinks down there in like New Orleans and Louisiana, not all of them obviously, but a lot of them are really sugary. So then you're drinking, you're getting dehydrated, you're getting sugar, and it just all runs together. And it's like, why? We're better than this. Like, humans, we've evolved, right? Like, this is what we try to avoid. We should be evolving past this shit and going into our Star Trek, StarCraft utopia. I don't care. Like, okay, manipulate the weather. Who gives a shit? Get rid of the humid weather in Louisiana. The biome, the alligators. Look, if the alligators wanted a biome, if they wanted their homes, they would have learned to use guns and defended themselves. That's all I'm saying. Vote for Mav, next president. Let's see. Shinkai is here. He says, happy Friday the 13th. Yes, happy Friday the 13th, everybody out there. The date that only comes around, 3 or 4 different times a year, but it is still a fun date nonetheless. So for Friday the 13th for me, obviously there's the movies, there's the horror stuff, all that. Love all that. But I really like, guys, on Friday the 13th, lots of tattoo parlors will do this thing called a flash tattoo or a flash sale where you can just go in, they have a sheet of things, and you go, that one. and it's like, super discounted, a special deal. Really cool, really fun. I wanted to go get one of those, but I forgot until like noon that today was like Friday the 13th tattoo flash day. Like, it didn't click in my head. So maybe after the show, I might go to the tattoo parlor I have out here that I get a bunch of work done at and get another flash or a flash tattoo for this year or for this session. I've gotten a bunch before. We'll see. But that is why I like Friday the 13th. I hope you guys, whether it's tattoos or black cats or horror movie marathon, or you just enjoy, I don't know, fun dates, I guess. I don't know. I guess it is really inherently horror related, right? So either way, I hope everybody is having a good day, and I'm glad that, I'm honored that if you're here, you chose to spend some of this spooky day with me, with us, with our little gang of nerds and punks, if you will. Shinkai says, oh, and yes, first of all, I don't know if I actually said this. Shinkai, welcome, buddy. Always a pleasure to have you. It's not a show without a Shinkai, right? The closest thing I got to watching a ballerina is Princess Tutu. Dude, I haven't watched Princess Tutu in a long time. That is a kind of a throwback. And it sucks. Here's the ravages of time, right? Princess Tutu was what, like 2009, 2010 when they did that adaptation? Maybe like 2012? To me, that feels like it was just like 2 years ago. But that's over a decade since that show came out. So, good reference. My sister and her friends, actually, one year for Anime Expo, they did a whole group of the Princess Tutu cast, and it was really, really cool. Maybe someday, if I can find the photos, I'll share them if I can. Like that year, her and her friends were Princess Tutu, and then me and my friends were Ace, Sabo, Luffy for One Piece. And obviously, I'm going to let you guys guess who I was in the cosplay group. I mean, if you want to, I don't know, but I'm going to let that might be fun. Guess who I was in that group. It cannot be hard, but I will, after I get to the latest chat here from Caveat, I will let you guys know. All right. Speaking of, I can't believe I skipped over that. I just did it in my head. Caveat's here. What's going on, Caveat? Always nice to see you when you can stop by. We love having you around. Speaking of horror, this is what was looping on my head right now. Dante is here. Dante Erics, the resident horror reporter of Bounding into Comics. What is going on, my friend? What are you doing for this lovely, scorching Friday the 13th? I'm sure you've got at least some sort of movie plan on deck, right? Let's see. Punk says, it was cool for Keanu to make an appearance in Ballerina. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I heard it was executed well. It's just what we talked about last week with, you got to be careful if you're going to start doing divergent timelines, because then you got to talk about like, oh, this fits into this timeline, but not that timeline. Sort of, I have mixed feelings on the concept overall, but the Zelda timeline, right? Like, this is sort of the same situation where when Nintendo decided, oh, we're going to establish a hard timeline, and they divided it into like the 3 different eras. Josh, if you're watching, if you show up, I know you and I talk about this all the time. Get in here. You can help me out. But when they did that, it made things like, oh, so this one fits, like this game's only applies to this game and only that one. And it's like, it gets weird. It gets all over the place. Again, it's one of those things that I may have an immediate knee-jerk reaction of like, ooh, I don't know. But that doesn't necessarily mean I think it's a bad idea, that they shouldn't do it, that it's a tired idea, you know? Like we always say, rarely are there bad ideas. It's all about the execution, right? Sakura says, I saw Marvel Mystic Mayhem, and not gonna lie, my response is my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. Shout out to Review Bra. Yeah, I just heard about this game a second ago, like literally as I was fixing the chat function, or the featured chat function here. One of my buddies in one of my Discords not tagged me, but he shared it. And well, why don't we check that out in a second, right? Like maybe we'll that'll be a topic. Good, like thanks for bringing that up, Sakura. I didn't know if anybody else knew anything about this game. Caveat says I turned 13 on Friday the 13th. That's awesome. That is actually, I like those little moments in life when you what I don't even know what you would call them, right? Where things just like line up in a fun way. Lining upping, that's not like, that is definitely not a term or whatever. If somebody out there much smarter than me, which is very few, admittedly, I know, guys, but if anybody out there knows what the hell like the terminology it is for like what caveat is referencing here and what I'm saying about caveats thing, let me know, because I'm genuinely scratching my head like there should be. And watch, it's gonna be something really, really stupid and we're all gonna go no wonder we don't use that word. All right, let's see. Caveat says Luffy. Shinkai says Donut Boy Ace. And let's see, do I actually have the photos on my computer? Or are they just on my phone? No, I think I have them here. We can confirm that at least, yeah, there we go. That's probably the best one. All right, Firefox. Put it in. Let me make sure I have the right window for when we jump over. We are... Yeah. All right. The answer is... Where the hell are my buttons? Boom. I was Ace. Of course I was Ace, right? Like, it just makes sense. I could make an argument for Luffy, but I'm definitely more of an Ace type. And it also just worked out because Ace is my, in general, favorite One Piece character. I know he like didn't last that long, but hey, he's my guy. And it's crazy because I'm not normally a fan of the fire, like lots of shows, anime, comic books, video games, right? They'll have the fire character and they're always cool and often, you know, the lead or the main badass, if you will. And they're always cool, but I've never been like really taken to them. I've always thought like fire is sort of an easy out, like you just put somebody on fire and you've got a great character, right? Look at the Human Torch. It's such a good concept they did it twice. So yeah, I love Ace even though he's a fire guy. I'm glad I know he died. It's one of the best deaths in all of manga, in my opinion. And thank God this is not an American comic book where Ace is going to ever have the risk of coming back, right? Like, at worst. And this, I only say at worst. Okay, let me rephrase that. The only way I could actually see Oda bringing back Ace or referencing Ace ever again in like on the page, like he's actively, here's some new Ace art, Ace is doing a new thing in the story, is in the finalish battles. We're definitely going to have like a father-son Kamehameha moment between either Luffy, Ace, and Sabo, or like everybody that Luffy has ever, you know, touched. Like we'll get that. Remember at the end of Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z when Goku is fighting Boo and he's asking everybody for the energy, and we start seeing here. Let's go to Dragon Ball Z Majin Boo's Genki Dama. Okay, I'm gonna be that annoying jackass. But where is... Okay, if I do that, it's clearly just gonna give me really bad like 720p quality things. Majin Buu Spirit Bomb. What are all, I want you to charge it up. That's what I need. Why won't you, like, is this it? Is this when it happens? No, that's when they're like fighting. Why is this so hard to find, guys? All right, let's see. Dragon Ball Z, Majin Buu, Spirit Bomb, Charge. Will that work? Ugh. YouTube just makes everything, like, the internet is so shitty now, thanks to YouTube. But let's see. Hopefully, this is what I'm talking about. Is it just like the end of it? Oh my god, this fucking... All right, I'm mad now, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to look up, what episode What episode does Goku charge the Spirit Bomb to kill Boo? Spirit Bomb Triumphant. Now, my friends, now, fellow foil varianters, or wrong show. Oh, God, and I can't call you guys like my fellow ugliers, because that just sounds terrible. But let's see. We can go to my rips of everything, and I can show you what I'm talking about, even though we're only gonna be talking about this for like 3 more seconds. But now it's on principle. Now I'm pissed off at YouTube. Now I hate Google. And I'm going to deliver for you guys, for my audience, because I care about you guys. You deserve better. You always deserve better. Let's see. What episode? God damn. 286. This show, woo. Imagine, people watch this all the way through. I mean, I did. It's just crazy to think. 480 episodes. Not all of them necessary. Although, I don't really care about Kai. It was out there. It is what it is. And also, Kai cuts out the driver's license episode, which is why would you ever do that? It is literally the best episode. Trunks, Chi-Chi, everybody. Oh, I went way late. Let's see. Hercule, Vegeta. Let's see. What are you guys saying while I scroll through this? Serendipity. That might be the right term for it. Serendipity, maybe. I feel like there's got to be something more accurate to what we're specifically talking about. But I also know that I'm an English major, or I graduated from school with English. I am a big literature dork. Like, I'm probably getting too caught up in the words of it all, if you will. Because I'm on the wrong episode. It was the last episode. Thanks. Stupid everything. So, do you remember? Yeah. Is it here? Yeah. So in, and we'll jump. Is it gonna pop up? Awesome. So, if you guys remember here, in the end of Dragon Ball Z, where Goku is charging the Spirit Bomb, and Mr. Satan comes out, Goku doesn't have enough energy. Mr. Satan comes out and says, everybody, I'm your champion, listen to me, give energy. And when they do this montage, we start seeing a bunch of cameos, like these are World Tournament fighters. We just saw, what's his name? Nam a second ago, like an older Nam. We see, I believe Lunch is actually in like the next shot somewhere around here. But we start seeing all these cameos of different, just like, over the years, this is who Goku has fought with. This is how it'll end, right? And it'll either be just a big old montage like this of like right before Luffy clocks the final guy, or it's going to be something like Gurren Lagann style almost, where you have all the spirits of everybody like fighting behind him, and as he's punching through, it slowly starts whittling down to its most like pure powerful, and the last punch is like him going with like Luffy or with like Ace and Sabo behind him, and then maybe he does one follow-up and it's Shanks or something, right? That's what I think. That's the only way I think Ace is going to come back, and I think we'll all be better off for it. Whoa, wow, I just noticed something. Look, we so very rarely come to the video player layout here on this show lately. I forgot to put the stream buddy. Our stream buddy's not here. Where are you, our friend? That's crazy. Oh well. We'll put you back when we get back to it. Caveat says, I only saw the live action One Piece, really enjoyed it. I'm glad. I know that One Piece is big and daunting, and it can be a lot for people to get into. I'm glad you enjoyed the Netflix one. I did as well. It is probably, until we can get to the point where we just get like super on point, beat the Uncanny Valley CGI, right? I think this is probably the best try we're getting, or like the best thing we're getting in terms of a live action Western adaptation. The fact that it is so, chalk a lot of that up to the fact that the producers, the showrunners, everybody actually love the property and want to do right by it, and the fact that Eiichiro Oda, the mangaka of One Piece, is actively involved in it. Like every day they send him like, hey, we're doing this. What about this? What do you think about that? And Oda will say, I like this. I like that. I don't think this. He'll even weigh in on casting, right? So that show is a rarity, but I'm glad you enjoy it. Season 2 is coming soon, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm pretty damn stoked. We saw that preview of Chopper, right? Like 2 weeks ago. Then we saw, here, I'll just pull that up while we're hanging out here. Chopper, Tony Chopper. We'll just have you hanging out there, little guy, while we're sitting here. But yeah, season 2's on the horizons. Should be pretty damn cool. I'm very, very excited. I'm excited for Robin to show up because that's of the Straw Hats. She is like one of my, how do I put this? I think favorite Straw Hat is probably Sanji, followed by Robin, because and Robin is like, she's not my One Piece. She is a One Piece waifu, but she's almost like so elegant, right? Like that's Robin. Like put her on it. Like she's on a different level than my general One Piece waifu, who's Carrot, right? So excited to see her. Really, really excited for Joe Manganiello to be Crocodile. I think that is some damn inspired casting. And I've also just really always liked Joe Manganiello. Ever since my first exposure to him, I know he was in that True Blood show, right? Like vampires on Showtime. Not my jam in general. Just vampires, really, really generally not my thing. Nothing against them. I just don't find them that appealing. I know he was in that, but my first exposure to him was when he was on How I Met Your Mother, when he was Marshall, who was Jason Segel's character, when he was his, like, what was it, law school buddy, and he was on the other side of a case against Marshall and stuff. I liked him a lot in that role. I'd probably still be watching that show on repeats if I didn't get fucking furious at the ending of it, right? But yeah, Joe Manganiello would have been a really cool Deathstroke too. For all the flaws in Zack Snyder's universe, right? As Andrew is very good about, reminding all of us, even me, in the moments when I'm like freaking out about things with him, not everybody is all good ideas. Not everybody is all bad ideas. And while I generally don't like a lot of what Snyder did with the DC properties or his takes on it, that final moment of Manganiello Deathstroke and finally shaved head on a yacht, like in a suit, Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg's, that was like, I was like, I am in for this. Can we please do this? And of course, that was the end. Or what was that? That was in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So of course that was never going to come up. But regardless, yes, One Piece live action, very, very excited for it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad most people are enjoying it. Whether or not those, you, Caveat, or other fans or whomever go on to the other media, doesn't really matter. It's nice to just be sharing One Piece, right? One of the things that, like, gets me with One Piece in particular is, okay, how do I put this? Hold on, sorry, I'm just gonna put Chopper back up. Hi, little buddy. What I saw Caveat said, Chopper looks annoying to me. I get it. I know. So he doesn't look annoying to me, but I also know the character. I know what they're probably gonna do with him. I can see on its face how this character would rub people the wrong way. Just if you're meeting him right now, I get it. And I'm not going to tell you your read is like completely wrong. It's all going to be personal. But I will say this at the very least, Caveat. Even if you do end up personally finding Chopper annoying, or the performance is generally annoying, he's going to probably have like an episode or two focus, like for his backstory when he joins the crew. But we can still keep going on with the rest of the story. He'll be there, he's around, but it doesn't become the Chopper show. And they don't start doing the James Gunn thing where, Rocket and Groot are everywhere. They're doing everything. We got to focus on Rocket and Groot. It still remains a very good ensemble cast. Oh, so what I was saying is, in general, no, I got you. I caught it. Look at that. Look at me go. All the reflexes. But with One Piece, you guys, so for my younger audiences out there, my younger viewers, my just getting into anime or manga viewers, or even honestly any viewer who didn't live in the United States in the early 90s, 2000s, yada yada yada. So You guys may know though, even if you don't know this exact event, the premise, you guys may know of a little company called 4Kids, which in the early 90s, in the early 2000s, they were responsible for licensing a bunch of anime and bringing it, pardon me, to the West, but they were very, very heavy on, you know, since they were aiming their anime. So when they would license an anime, they were generally aiming for the Saturday morning cartoon audience, which is under 10s, and that's being generous, maybe under like 8s, under 9s. That is the audience that they, no matter what they adapted or like what they got their hands on, they said this property has to be aimed at them. So when One Piece came west out here during the big anime boom, around the time of like Fox Kids, when they started doing a lot of anime, so like Ultimate Muscle, Fighting Foodons for anybody who remembers that. Around that time, One Piece also got tagged by 4Kids and they brought it over. But as you guys know, yes, One Piece is a shonen series, so it's inherently made for younger boys, but it's made for a slightly younger audience than just like brand new school kids. And it also deals with a lot of mature subject matter, like a lot of manga does, because it's a huge cultural thing, and it's one of the things I really dislike about our origins here in America, among many things. But our puritanical culture, the fact that we were we were founded on hyper religious values, that makes us all, or that bred a culture here in America that still persists to this day, where everybody really clutches their pearls over anything that they deem might be like offensive or violate morals or anything like that, right? If you start an entire nation on a bunch of fucking crybaby tattletales, you're gonna breed a nation of crybaby tattletales. So out here, we unfortunately infantilize our kids way, way, way too much. I mean, look at all and I'm going to say it, like, I don't care, generally all the, Republican politicians who go, we need to ban this to protect the children. Like, okay, you're going to ban Assassination Classroom, the manga from the library, to protect children? I know these kids are already, like, if my own experience was anything to go off of in the early years of the internet, these kids have already seen war videos from out of Kursk. They've already seen beheadings. They've already seen, footage from on the ground war operations. There's a good chance like 40% of your teenage class is probably near bullied or bullied someone to near suicide or full suicide, if anything, right? So we infantilize our kids way too much in this country. And that in turn leads us to, if we're doing a media thing for them, we really, really, keep it immature, keep it low stakes. Hold on, I just need a drink of water. Sort of the best illustration I can give you guys for this is look at the big gap that it's getting better, but not like progress is very, very minimal. But the gap in, like, let's just look at America. In American cartoons, you have lots of things for kids, right? You have your Adventure Times, your Teen Titan Goes, I don't know what the fuck else kids are watching these days. Teen Titans Go, and maybe if they're lucky, an episode of Gumball. Good show. Like, don't get me wrong, I really like these shows. I like Gumball. I've actually come around on Teen Titans Go. It's still really annoying to see it on TV all the time, but so, like, my heart goes out to parents. If you're a parent and you have to watch Teen Titans Go all the time, I'm so sorry. But as a unmarried, single, childless, mid-30s man, if I catch an occasional episode or 3 when I'm at, like, a hotel, I laugh. I can enjoy the jokes. But, and of course, Gumball is just one, like, it's so incredible. I love Gumball. So we have a lot of those. Now, so that, we can give kids things to watch, even in preschool, even when they're young. Your Cailloux, your whatever the fuck Coco Melon is, your Blueies. Then they go on to your like what I was just saying, like Adventure Times, your you're totally spies. I mean, I know that's a whole fetishy thing. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's still around that area. Your generator Rexes, things like that. You start going, and then there's nothing, right? In the West, we don't facilitate anything in that gap for older teenagers, young adults. That we don't. It's this weird thing in American culture where it's like we talk about this all the time. Animations for kids, all of that is cartoony. It's weird. We got, that's for immature people. And then, if that's how like our culture views animation. But then if we get something that everybody likes, it's always, oh, we're doing an adult animation, right? This is animation, but it's not stupid baby animation. We're getting real here. And that gap is just so odd, right? Like we don't have that here because we treat we protect our kids too much. So then we treat them with the like lamest media up until, or we sand the edges off of all of their media up until they're like 12, 13. And then we just go, or not we, but a lot of parents just go, see ya, like have fun. And then they shit their pants when, or let me rephrase that. I did not make that point well. So yeah, we have all this media and we support it for kids up till they're like 12, 13. And then right there, that cultural shift happens, right? As soon as we start hitting teenage years in America and we start feeling we're becoming adults. We're starting to see more into the adult world. We're starting to, take all of that into account. Again, I was a teenager, guys. I know it isn't that serious, but at the time for the kid, it is, right? It's a whole period of I'm looking for things. I'm trying to find out who I am. The kid hits 13, and all of a sudden we as a society, unfortunately, start viewing them as like, okay, time to start growing up. You're a teenager now. You need to start growing up. And our view of animation goes, okay, so once you hit 13, we shouldn't, in the minds of Hollywood, whomever, they go, we shouldn't be producing animation anymore for that, past 12, 13, we shouldn't be catering to that crowd. Like, that is stupid. That's infantile. And Japan's not like that. Because they did not, coddle their kids, a lot of their media from like stuff that is very clearly kid oriented to even things that are, family movies. Like they'll deal with very real things. They'll deal with the realities of the world. One of the things that I always highlight, because I get annoyed by this, and I get annoyed a lot when people are really disingenuous and don't really interrogate anything. But one of the things a lot of people do when they go, oh, Japan's so weird, they go, oh, look, there are boobies everywhere. Everything is so, like, oh, that anime character has big boobs. Oh, that statue has her tits out. And everybody goes, oh, it's so weird, so pervert. It's not perversion. It's just that they didn't grow up thinking the nude body of a man or a woman is shameful, is an inherently bad thing. To them, it's just life. And so where I was going with all this, I know that was sort of a slight detour, but to bring it all back, as such, when 4Kids got their hands on One Piece and brought it over, because there is no, in their minds, in the Hollywood mind, there is no audience, there is no reason to have anything oriented towards teenagers. So, we'll aim One Piece at kids. And in doing that, you get a lot of the infamous 4Kids censorship that they always did. Sanji doesn't smoke. He eats a lollipop instead. There's an episode where Kobe is pointing a gun. Oh, yeah, it's the episode where Luffy meets Kobe. But Kobe points like a gun at Luffy. And in the 4Kids version, it's this weird contraption of a boxing glove, like Joker meets Green Arrow type of like spring-loaded boxing glove thing. It's super odd. But because they did that, because they gave One Piece that treatment, when it came here, a lot of people just went, I don't give a shit. Like, this is really, really, really bad. It was a hit, obviously, with like the young kids, the 6, 7, 8-year-olds, because like when we were that age, that they don't know any better. They just like seeing bright colors, new characters. I'm sure a lot of them are still One Piece fans, but most people went, this is a really, really bad take on anime. And this was at a time when we were starting to slowly open up to teenager like oriented things. And mainly that was on Toonami with Dragon Ball, with Gundam Wing. We weren't going hard yet, but we were, a lot of audiences who were into this stuff were starting to see it doesn't always have to be this infantile. It doesn't have to be this stupid, this childish. So once One Piece came over, it got that treatment. Nobody liked it. Who was it? Toei? Yeah, Toei, Shueisha, everybody who had a hand in the like licensing marketing of the One Piece brand said, forget that. Like, it's not going to take in America. Like, it's just not going to happen. And it kind of was like that for a long time, guys. I swear, even up until what I obviously my sense of time with my job and everything, we talk about it every week, is fucked up. But I remember One Piece still being treated as semi-obscure by bigger crowds out there, like, or here, let's put it this way, my normie friends, right? It was treated as semi-obscure, hyper, like, not weird, but like, oh, I've never heard of that, but okay, in like 2021. And now we're in a age where everybody's, you know, rocking the clothes, going to the movies. The One Piece card game is fucking almost, if not as big as Magic the Gathering, which is crazy. And so I always am just stunned that One Piece, whether whoever, Toei, Shueisha, or just the roll of the fucking dice, they were able to make One Piece a thing out here. Like, I think it's great. I wish we got more of it. Like, keep bringing this stuff over. The more we do stuff like this, the more we get popularity is recognized, the more we get, you know, simul releases of video games, or in the future, maybe we'll get simulcasts of like Kamen Rider, who knows? But that's always been something I really liked about the One Piece story, if you will. And it was super sad when they announced the show, the live action one. Oda straight up, you know, he wrote a letter to fans, and in it, he was super excited, super stoked. And then he was like, I really hope this is good, because this is our last chance to make One Piece popular in the West. And I was like, damn. And, you know, so many people were like, what is he talking about? Shut up. You just want more money. And I was like, you children, you don't understand, right? Like, I was there. I know what he's talking about. But yeah, so good on One Piece. Cannot wait to see it come back. And yeah, I guess the stamp I'll put on this part of our show is that I love how, just like months earlier, Marvel did Miss Marvel, and they changed her powers from traditional stretchy stuff to hard light Green Lantern style constructs. And the reasoning was, oh, stretchy skin's gonna look weird on TV. And then boom, Netflix of all people, who I'm pretty sure this is where all their budget has been saved for, because Netflix doesn't. I did not expect Chopper to be this good of a quality out of a Netflix production, right? So, yeah, Netflix drops their money, and then a couple months later, we get the first shots of like Luffy stretching out his mouth and using his like gum fist, and I was like, oh, smacked him down. That's right, we can do it. And thankfully, Disney learned their lesson, and we'll be having stretchy Reed Richards in Fantastic Four First Steps instead of some weird Lightman Richards, if you will. All right. Speaking of that, before we move on, I figure I should address this as always. Stream buddy for tonight, if you guys haven't taken notice yet, if you haven't seen it, if you don't know it, Marvel Rivals just got an update today, and it added a couple new skins to the store, including a new set of 3 skins for the Fantastic Four. So, well, 3 of them. So, new skins for Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic, and The Thing. They are based on the Future Foundation costumes, which is what they wore after Johnny died, and they sort of were trying to move forward. That is why Johnny is not getting one. Spider-Man is actually the one who gets in on the game after that. Like, Johnny dies, the Four know they need to keep going on. they reach out to Peter and say, you know what, you are family. We want you to be on the 4. You're the 4th. And it's, the costumes look great. They are some of my favorite costumes. Sue is my main, and I haven't really seen like a great, her cosmetics haven't been that exciting. Like there's the Malice one, which is fine, but I would buy the Malice suit for Sue only if so this is going to sound so fetishy, but just follow me out here, guys. On that model, on the Malice model, it has bare feet, but it has, instead of like regular nails, Malice Sue has like claw toenails. I'm just not a big fan of like claw nails on any appendage, on any gender, on anything. Like Sabretooth. A lot of times they'll do Sabretooth instead of like his finger and bone being like the sharp claws that he uses. They give him like the actual nails. They did that in X-Men 1, the movie. Hate that. I don't know what it is. I'm not a fan of it. And so, yeah, the Malice skin for Sue is great, right? Like, like, absolutely fantastic. Like, super, she's sexy. It's Sue. It's in red and black. A great color combo. Stands out among the crowd of white and blue costumes that Marvel Rivals throws out there. And really, there's like no just like Malice, Sue Storm, Marvel Rivals. Come on now. Just give me... Okay, whatever. This is like a 35-second clip of gameplay. Yeah. I would buy that one, but just like the claw thing, like, can't do it. But, so yeah, they added 3 new skins. 1 for Reed, 1 for Ben, 1 for Sue. Spider-Man does not have his yet. I'm sure it's coming. I'm torn, guys, because... So I already bought the Sue one, which you can see here. It's great. It's also really cool because Sue's costume can... whatchamacallit? Here, I'll show you guys real quick since we have this up. Marvel Rivals Future Foundation. Okay, I don't want like a super 20-minute long video. That's not real. Sorry, I was just letting you guys know. Okay, I'm here to keep you all informed. So yes. Oh, cool. We can look at all of them. So here's Reed's, which is a very Chinese Asian take on Reed's Future Foundation look. Oh cool. There's just a good splash screen. So yeah, all 3 of them got these costumes. Obviously, I already bought the ones for Reed and Sue, who I use as my mains. I'm torn because that Future Foundation Spider-Man suit is one of my favorites, but I don't play him in this game, and I don't really want to because I know the skill ceiling is so high. And when I'm playing Marvel Rivals, look, I'm at that point. I'm logging in. I want to have fun. I want to do things. I don't want to try and be sweaty all the time and like really go hard. So Spidey, I'll leave that to the Zoomers, right? The Zoomers who have that attention span or that dedication. So, but I still want the damn skin. So I'm so torn, guys. I don't know. But the other cool feature is, let's see, where's the Sue one? You're only going to show me Reed's? Well, side note, Peach Momoko's Storm from Ultimate Black Panther made it in, and I think this is like one of the best translations of Peach's art into a model. So, let me just, come on. This dude actually recorded this on his, like, phone. We live in 2025. Like, just unacceptable. I guess this will probably... Okay, these guys just logged in. No views? I'll give you guys some views. What's up? So, hopefully you'll show the cool thing about this. So, there's the outfit. Looks great. I love Sue with the short hair. I just love the color combo. But, come on, do it. Well, that's her outro. Yeah, there we go. These skins can actually, like, change, which in the comics, that's how their suits operated. They were white and black, and then if they wanted to, they could flip it and invert it. So I was like, I've talked about it a lot on this show. The attention to detail this fucking game does to the original source material is beautiful, just all the time. cannot really go wrong with it. Even that thing about Malice with her weird nails, I don't like it, but that is a good actual translation of that design. That is something you should actually probably put on a Malice, evil Sue alternate dimensional energy bang thing, right? Like I'm about it. I'm about it. So that's our stream buddy for tonight. I figured we would just hit that really quick. And yeah, let's see. Let us go to let's see what you guys are saying. I'll go back to the main window because we'll say hi to you in a second, Sue, but we'll go to the main window so that you guys can actually talk to me. You can feel like I'm talking to you instead of looking at a very tiny box. Guys, side note, I'm sure you've all noticed this because you're on the other end, but as I've been, putting some last touches on the new layouts and stuff, I didn't realize that the Stream Buddy box is way bigger than my box. And that just feels weird. Like I'm the main draw of the show. I know Sue is pretty and I have a lot of cool stream buddies, but I feel theoretically I should be the focus. So just funny. Why didn't any of you let me know about that? Shame on my viewers. Let's see. Tehillim is here. How is it going, my friend? Always a pleasure to see you. Shinkai says, speaking of good and bad ideas, what's your take on Mel Brooks wanting to do a Spaceballs 2? So, not excited. We don't know yet if Mel Brooks. So yes, Spaceballs 2 officially announced yesterday. Mel Brooks is returning. We got a little teaser about it. I love Mel Brooks. I love Spaceballs. Don't get me wrong. We haven't heard that Mel Brooks is at the helm of this one. So, taking that into account, there is a chance it can be done right. There is a chance. I'm not very confident on it, especially given the fact that whatever, what did they name it? Hold on. It's named, it has Spaceballs The Schwartz Awakens is the name of the movie. They literally end Spaceballs 1 with that joke, I'll see you again in Spaceballs 2, the quest for more money or the search for more money or whatever it was. The fact that you didn't follow through on that amazing joke really worries me, right? Because here, let me see. Deadline is the one who announced it. Moranis is back. Yogurt, Mel Brooks. So here is the creative team. It's director Josh Greenbaum, who, if I'm looking at his credits, we have Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Holy fuck. Strays? That movie. Okay. Strays is that movie where Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx, were dogs. This is not, that doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence for this guy. Okay, so that's our director. And then I look at our writers. We have a man named Benji Samit, and his, let's see, what his credits are. Okay, he helped write he looks like a touch-up guy, like somebody you bring in after the fact to just fix little things, because he has credits for Detective Pikachu, The Addams Family 2, the 2021 one, and the Mutant Mayhem Ninja Turtles movie, the CGI one from Seth Rogen. So, don't really know, because that's the thing. Okay, he has credits on those movies, but he's one of 7 writers on both of them. I don't know what did he contribute. I couldn't in good faith call him the writer of this movie, and I wouldn't feel right saying I didn't like what was it? The Addams Family 2, then he's going to be bad. There's just not enough information to go off of here. Then we have second writer Dan Hernandez, who is okay, so he's writing partners with that last guy, and he has the same credits. So, okay, a second touch-up writer, I guess. Okay, odd, and then the only name here that gives me any hope is the third writer on the film is Josh Gad, the actor who was what's his name? Olaf in Frozen. He was in Beauty and the Beast, the live action one as LeFou. He's in a lot of stuff. You guys probably all know him. And so, Caveat says, I don't think it has an official name yet. Let's see. I'm looking at, here, we'll hang out with you. I feel like I'm hiding things from you when I'm really not. Whoops. Sorry, Sue. We got movies to talk about, my girl. All right, so Spaceballs, new Spaceballs. Yeah, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you are right. Okay, yeah, I think Caveat's right. Maybe it doesn't have an official name yet, which is okay, but we're watching you. Like I'm fucking watching you guys. But yeah, the only name in those four we just read off that I have any confidence in is Josh Gad. And now this is something that has been really irking me over the past couple days, and I'm gonna let you guys all know this. Nobody in the chat right now is saying this. Like I'm not pointing at anybody. I'm just bringing this up of my own volition. Don't worry, I'm not. Nobody is doing anything wrong out there. But well, at least here in the good Mab Ugly community, in the wider social media world, lots of people have been going, Josh Gad, he's blah blah blah, he's woke, he's stupid, blah blah blah. And okay, fine, whatever. But you don't have to like the guy, but you do have to acknowledge this, like, Gad is actually funny as fuck, because if you go, like, I'd say probably ever since the PC Principal episodes of South Park, right? Like, years ago, Josh Gad has been a producer on that show. He helps Matt and Trey write the jokes, write the stories, right? So the man knows comedy and timing and all of the craft. You don't have to like his politics, you don't have to like him as a person, but he is talented at what he does. So the only person on this crew who has genuine comedic chops is Gad. Now, of course, Brooks will probably deliver as best as he can. He's Mel Brooks. Same with Rick Moranis. Like they'll all deliver. I'm sure Bill Pullman will. Louis Pullman, the Sentry, he's also going to be in the movie. I'm sure everybody's going to do great. It just feels weird to me. Okay. How do I put this? So Spaceballs 1 ends with that joke about, I will see you again in Spaceballs 2, the quest for more money. And we all laughed and we all leaned into that joke because we're like, yep, that is what studios do. They just sort of walk out a corpse and do whatever with it. With this announcement of Spaceballs 2, if this was sort of an ironic almost project, I think maybe that's how it could have worked. Or if this was, Brooks coming in with, like, I have a specific commentary I want to tell that we need, like, I want to use Spaceballs for. Like, I have a good commentary, I have a good setting, let's do that. We'd be in a different boat, right? But because it actually, like, none of them are on the creative team, this is going to be another big Hollywood thing. And I'm sorry, but personally for me, I see Keke Palmer on a project and I immediately go, if Keke Palmer's agent got her on this project, who was like behind her? Like, who was left, right? I'm not a fan of Keke Palmer. If you want to have fun, go ask Jacob Smith of Bounding Into Comics. Go check out his Bible Lens show on Sunday or his Barroom podcast on Tuesday. Go ask him. Be like, hey, I heard you and Spencer like Keke Palmer. What's up with that? And he will go on a tirade. I'm only not going on one now because he got me to calm the fuck down about it. But yeah, it feels too corporate, too insincere. And it's not even like, I don't even know. I'm probably going to have to sit on this, and we'll probably talk about it more as the, movie draws closer. We start getting more news, but I'm open to see what they do. I'm just very not, you really got to sell me on this one, right? Like they have to show me something awesome, or I'm just going to be left. Like I'm just going to go, sorry guys, I'm out of here. And if they don't do the actual Spaceballs, here let's do this Spaceballs sequel title. Let's see if there's anything. Okay, there isn't. Just Spaceballs. If they don't do Spaceballs 2, The Quest for More Money, that to me would signal they know what they're doing, and instead of, acknowledging that and sort of going, taking their licks, they're trying to ignore it and move forward. Right? Because I feel like if they don't use that title, the executives, studio execs are just going to be, the reason will be those execs are, oh, I don't want them to think this is an actual cash grab. We want people to actually come in and see the movie. And it's like, okay, but yeah, it's a mess right now. We'll see how it goes moving forward. But yeah, we'll see. Shinkai says, my concern with Chopper is how are they going to do the transformations? Feel like it's going to be harder to do than whatever they did in season 1. Maybe. I mean, yeah, I really do want to see how they'll do it. We'll see. Yeah, the Chopper's transformations, I will give you this, Shinkai, are one of those things that, like, there is a big potential there to be either great or absolutely fucking terrifying to everybody, like, watching. Mothers, children, ghosts. Like, it could be bad. But right now, One Piece is one of those projects that has won so much good faith from me that, yeah, I might have a little, like, reservations, but I trust them, right? I kind of trust right now that my reservations will either be completely, addressed, or like they won't matter when the final product comes out, or it won't be as bad as I actually think it is. So yeah, that's where I stand on the transformations. Again, I didn't expect Chopper to look that good at base. So it's a whole new world where we're hanging out in here. Shinkai also said, Mab asked if anyone remembers fighting Foodons, as if I could forget it, and other collect them animes like Dinosaur King. Oh man, Dinosaur King. I forgot about that one. There was also, like, around that time, like a fossil-based one. It had like 2 video games. I remember seeing it all the time. But yes, Shinkai, my man, you and I are of the 2 collecting spirits. Like, if I have if there's a game or an anime or whatever that's about, like, collecting creatures or whatever, I'm screwed. Between, like, just my love of, like, deep lore stuff in all fiction, and then, like, my OCD, I want to collect them all, catch them all, train them all, whatever your damn slogan is going to be these times, or this time around. Tehillim says they grow with their audience. Damn, I forget what we were talking about. I know I've been going, like, really fast, or I went on, like, a One Piece tangent. Oh, yes, that's what you're probably talking about, right? Like, anime or the medium grows with its base. In the West, we don't do that. We don't allow things to, like, move forward or grow with that audience because of that weird infantilization of everything. Volume Dealer says, so they update the game only every 3 months, and they only do 2 or 3 skins. Future Fight, it does update every 2 weeks. So, no, that's actually I hear you, Volume Dealer, and if that was the actual case, that would be bullshit. But that's actually not what happens. Marvel Rivals actually drops about 2 to 4 new skins every month, and the 3-month update is actually introducing new characters and maps and everything every time. Those 3-month intervals, those are brand new seasons with whole new, like I said, new characters, new balancing, new maps, new features oftentimes, different game modes. So they are really, really, really cracking at that game. And I love them for it, because that was one of the things I hated when I was playing Overwatch, was I play Overwatch and then 9 months go by and Blizzard finally goes, we got an update for you. And they, like, fix one issue that, was an issue, but there's 900 more that we've got to take care of. Give me 1 second, guys. I have to pee really, really bad. So I unfortunately have nothing to leave you with. Discuss amongst yourselves, and I will be right back. Oh, yeah. We are back. Let's see. Yeah, Volume Dealer. That is true. Gad was the lead in the Book of Mormon. He was in the original one. So he's been with Matt and Trey for a long time. So I actually yeah, I would trust him, just kind of not everybody else. Let's see. Look, Donut, I'm trying to foster the most parasocial relationships with you guys. So I want you to know my pee schedule, my poop schedule, my menstrual cycle schedule. You guys need to know everything so that you can show up outside of my house one day and, I don't know, like kidnap me for a lock of my hair. I don't know what goes on with that shit. Yes. But hey, Donut, what's going on? Let's see. Punk says, I'm looking forward to the Formula One movie starring Brad Pitt coming out at the end of the month. That's going to be an interesting one. I always generally like racing movies. There's some movie, it might be the Formula One movie, where there's like a really stupid car crash that I've been seeing going around Twitter, and I'm just like, woof. But hey, anything that's sort of, not superheroes or IP or kind of, that's all we get nowadays, right? Like superheroes and just general IP. So bring on the Formula Ones. I'll take a couple of those over okay, Thunderbolts was pretty good, so that's like not the most recent one. I'm slightly excited for Fantastic Four. I don't know, what the hell is Wakanda Forever? Sure, I don't even know anymore. Volume Dealer says, oh, that's what I thought. That's what I thought you said. A month is still too long for a new game. See, I don't agree with that, because this is one of those games, it's drop in, play maps, like, you rotate through. We've all played a multiplayer game. When you have a multiplayer-centric game, I think it's okay to have time between releases. To me, 1 month between new characters and new maps and new everything, that is incredible service from NetEase compared to, yeah, like I was pointing out, the Overwatch team or the Call of Duty team. It's great dedication. And I know you keep drawing comparisons to Future Fight, but we also have to remember that Future Fight is that's a much different beast, right? You don't have to worry too much about timing, move timings, inputs, balancing, things like that, the way the models interact. It's a lot faster to throw somebody new into Future Fight than it is into Marvel Rivals. Yeah, Oki. Oh, first of all, yeah, Oki, what is going on? Sorry, I totally, yes. What is going on, my friend? Unstable Molecule, son. What do you know about it? That's what I'm talking about. Oki says, a story that grows with the audience must consider that, eventually, that story must come to an end. And we'll get into that in a little bit. That's actually one of our main topics, and we'll start moving into them. But it's like that, but it's also that once the audience grows past, right, like that point, everybody in, like, everything in America, movies, TV, video games, comic books, they sort of just abandon you until you're like 29 and you're only going to go see What If, right? Like that's the only animation you are allowed to like as a normal, respectable adult in America. It's changing. Once all the boomers die out and probably like our parents' generation, it's going to be a lot more different because we, us, our kids, our grandkids, whatever, we're going to have a much different relationship with animation, with how prevalent it is, with anime being a big thing, like in actuality. So, like it will get better, but right now, yeah, you hit 13, fuck you, go, it's time to get a cup of black coffee, go pay your taxes, and stop having fun forever. You're not allowed to smile again. I mean, I know I'm sounding like those fucking loser tradcath assholes who are all over social media, but that's kind of what, again, we were founded on stupid puritanical bullshit, just like the Catholic Church was. So what are you gonna do? Soccer says, I wish an Elsa Bloodstone game with gameplay of Metroid and Castlevania. Okay. Yes, we've talked about it before. Elsa Bloodstone game would be cool. Go play Ultimate Alliance 3 if you want a really good handle on her. Donut says, the closest thing I can remember to... sorry, I'm pushing a button. The closest thing I can remember to growing up with a story is Telltale's Walking Dead, but that was only in the sense that I grew up with Clementine. Well, that still counts, right? You still had that character who you were connected with, that you were growing with, that as you matured and grew older, Donut, and, this doesn't mean, you don't have to be Clementine's age of what was she, like 12, 10, to whatever she was in those original games. It's been a long time since I played them. But, anybody, if you're 20 and you're, you play the game, if you're 17, if you're 30, Clem still grows with you, right? As you mature, because we all mature, we all keep growing throughout our life. That is just the human experience. We learn, we grow, we get perspectives, yada, yada, yada. So at any point, you can you can get into Clem's story, and as you're growing in your own, maturity journey, she's growing in hers. So she's facing, not one-to-one the same challenges you might be, but she's facing comparable challenges, things that you can relate to. And yeah, you go with her and you grow up, and now we don't have any of those games, but that's also because Telltale, rest in peace, honestly. That's one of the, in a perfect world, they would just be making games forever still instead of Ubisoft. Kind of surreal that by the last season, Clem and I were like the same age. What series was that for me? I'm trying to remember. I think that one was, honestly, and it's a little weird because it's a little more fantastical than what we've been talking about, Kingdom Hearts, right? Like, Sora's 14 in that first game. I think that came out 2001, so I was 11 or 12 when I first got that game. And then Sora's, 16 in 2, which came out in 2005, so I'm 15. And then when we finally get the conclusion in 3, that was what, like 2016, 2015? I'm an adult now. Like, I was at that moment, like, this is just my personal connection to it, but this speaks to what we're all talking about. When 3 came out, and it's about, Sora ending that part of the Keyblade War. Now we're going to go on to a new chapter. At the time that game came out, I was sort of doing that transition from living with, a friend, a roommate in LA, drinking, going out all the time, being extra debaucherous. I mean, I still am, but even more so. And I had just moved in with my girlfriend at the time. My big boy job was picking up. She was getting a big girl job. And so I was sort of like transitively putting that post-college chapter behind me and starting like the grown-ass man chapter of my life. So yeah, no, that sort of stuff is always really cool. And let's see. Should we just get into that? Should we just go into it? Yeah, let's just go into it. But first, I'm going to note, Punk says, I liked the Gran Turismo movie that came out a couple years ago. Dude, I did too. That one was surprisingly, interesting. Did not expect it to be kind of as engaging as it was, or make as much sense as it did. For those of you who don't know, Gran Turismo, the basic premise is that essentially a kid who does, he enters simulator competitions and he starts, winning. And so they hire him as a racer, da 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 da, blah, 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 whatever. But I remember the reason I sort of got invested, or like I allowed myself to get invested in that movie, was because it starts with him doing those like competition circuits. And shout out to any of my Southeast Asian located followers, or anybody who's been out there, or anybody who has family out there. They do that in the malls, like in the Philippines. When I go back, I will very often see like a stage set up with like a giant screen. There's a woman presenting and like, commentating on the race. There are 8 full like driver cabinets set up like on the side, and they have like camera crews and they're broadcasting. Like, it's crazy. They actually do those. So I saw that and I went, all right, you did kind of your research. You made sure this made sense and you didn't just go generic car movie. Generic car movie probably still would have been fine, but hey, you gave it that little extra spice, if you will. Let's see. So, Timon, what's going on? Welcome, buddy. A little late to the party, but we're always happy to have you. So, all right, let me pull up. What story do we want? Oh, I know where we'll go to look at. So let's get into some topics. Let's get into probably our biggest topic of the night. Now, this is why I kind of, I know we had some conversations going in the chat, but everybody is sort of hitting on this point, and I really want to use the transition. I really want to use the jump because that's how we do it here. We want to make the flow go. So, in terms of, once you hit 13, you're not allowed to have, fun anymore. You're not allowed to like fiction. You're not allowed to like comic books or anime or video games or anything like that. That combined with what we were talking about right now with Donut, about, growing up with characters, that satisfaction, that feeling of camaraderie, support, just, not like, of course, all of us here, we are reasonable, rational humans. We know that these are fictional characters, that they're not real, but it's still sort of nice to know, like Donut said, this character is growing with me. They're also being challenged. So, all right. Yeah. Hey, Timon, what's going? So, if in case, all right, how do I want to set this up? If you have been a longtime viewer of this show, if you have been a longtime viewer of Foil Variant with me and Andrew, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Central Time, if you have been my friend for any amount of time since I could probably talk, like on the off chance that my childhood friends that I still hang out with happen across my YouTube channel, right? If you've known me, you'll know this about me. I love the current Ultimate Comics reboot. It is one of the best lines coming out of Marvel right now. It is Ultimate Spider-Man in particular is one of the best comic books that we have gotten in a long fucking time. Jonathan Hickman, one of my favorite Marvel writers. Funnily enough, connecting everything, he was the writer who introduced the Future Foundation for the Fantastic Four and all that. That Ultimate Spider-Man, one of the best. Like, it's mine and Andrew's book of the week. Every week it comes out. We have Ultimate X-Men, which is my girl, Peach Momoko, doing the story and art and telling a very Japanese-centric version of the X-Men that combines the whole mutant mythos with traditional Japanese culture and society. We have Dennis Camp's Ultimates, which is... I think that guy's going to be like a superstar as we get older, because that book is just really well written and it's very ambitious and big right now. And Andrew and I talk about that. It's a lot of overarching setup, a lot of world building. But I think when Dennis and Hickman and Momoko and Brian Hill, who is doing Black Panther, I think once they finally, their plans come to coalesce, that Ultimates book is going to be something where I'm going to be like, you buy the trade immediately. Don't even listen to me. Just go. Or like, don't even let me finish the sentence. You should be, by the time I pause to take a breath, you should be hitting buy on the trade paperback of that from Amazon, Midtown. I don't give a shit, but you're going to need it. But that's in the future. That would be great. Oh, and then yeah, Ultimate Black Panther. I've talked about it before. It's just boring. It take the magic witch council things from the Aquaman movies, and then take the general. My father got assassinated. Now Wakanda has to open its borders story from Captain America: Civil War. You basically got Black Panther. It. You guys know I always update you if there's something significant that happens in any comic book, and there has just been nothing on that one, right? So. That all said, yeah, like I just noted, the Ultimate Universe is currently being helmed by Jonathan Hickman, Peach Momoko, Dennis Camp, Brian Hill, and whomever is on Ultimate Wolverine. That book is weird. I'm pretty sure that book, I like it, but it is very much the book, the most like Marvel established book, if you will. Like Wolverine in that book feels like it's our Wolverine, right? It's the one that everybody knows instead of a cool, subversive, different, what if, one different decision sort of Wolverine. They made him the Winter Soldier, which is kind of cool, but again, it's still Logan. He still has the brain problem or the memory problems. He was still Weapon X. It's exact same powers. Yeah, no, it's weird, but Donut says, is Ultimate Black Panther the one with the new white guy in it? No, that is Marvel Knights Black Panther. We talked about it last week, but for those of you, for a quick recap, last week, Christopher Priest, Black Rider, introduced a new potential future successor to T'Challa, his son, Katemba, white guy. We don't know where that's going yet. That was only issue 1. In terms of continuity, that book is weird because it is the Marvel Knights. It's a continuation of the Marvel Knights line, and it's a future look at that. But the Marvel Knights line was specifically always in Earth 616. So this technically, if we follow the established rules already, or like the logic that Marvel has used, maybe Priest says something later, maybe Joe Quesada says something later. But if we follow that, then what Priest is writing is like, this is a potential future for this Earth 616. And then so Priest, black guy, did not like, he was a very prominent comic book writer for a long time, stopped doing stuff for the big 2 because he hated being pigeonholed. All they would offer him were the black characters, Steel, Luke Cage, Sam Wilson, like the Falcon. And he was like, look, I want to write like white, like I can do that. I don't have to just write black characters. You know that, right? So this book, he's coming back and he's sort of talking shit on being pigeonholed by the industry, and also Marvel's, like, Priest doesn't like the idea that you have Wakanda being this huge technological utopia, and it's still like ruled by tribal rules, right? Like you still physically fight for whomever is going to be your king and things like that. And he thinks that like, that's fucking stupid. Yeah, okay, they can have that as their origins, but you don't need to keep relying on it just to go, they're African. Did you know they're African? And so what am I trying to say here? So yeah, that's what he's doing. He's sort of going, okay, I'll write Black Panther again. Like, so he is one of the more definitive Black Panther writers, and he actually did really like working on that book. That was before things started souring with him and the publishers. So what he's doing is he's like, okay, I'll write your black characters, right? I'll do your Black Panther, book, but I'm going to write it as a white guy. Check that out. And I'm going to show you, like, I'm going to use this white guy as sort of a mouthpiece to show, Wakanda can change. Like, we don't have to be like this. And also, just a lot of that stuff. So I'm really, really invested in that sense. But enough about me. That's not what we're talking about. That is that book. It will be interesting to see. So the last thing like that you guys have probably seen bouncing around in my head right here is, because this is a quote unquote future for the Earth 616, we run into the possibility where, or what do I call it? Schrodinger's canon, right? Okay, Priest, write that story, and it's there. It's now, if they avoid saying this is happening right now in canon, they can say, oh, they can later on, after they've read the temperature of like the reaction, they can go, yeah, this is the future for Earth 616 and start introducing Katemba into canon or like main canon and stuff. Or they go, oh, that's actually just an alternate timeline that might have happened. That's not real. And I'm sure Priest would be pissed about it, but I wouldn't put it past Marvel to be absolutely stupid. Yes, Punk. Priest is doing a great job on Vampirella. Pretty much anything, if you see Christopher Priest's name on it, it's going to be a damn fine read. Like he's one of my favorite comic book writers. But you know, with that idea of being able to diverge your timelines or pick and choose your canon depending on whether you want to let things advance in a certain direction or not. The Ultimate Universe. Right, that's where we were going with all this. In terms of the Ultimate Universe, as you guys know, the Ultimate Universe is sort of a more alive, a more mature, grounded, but not like super, we still have superpowers and Iron Man armor, but, dealing with real things like the growing rise of authoritarianism in the United States or the distrust of people of their neighbors. Real things that they're talking about here. And so why do I bring that up? I bring that up to say that's what the Ultimate Universe is sort of presenting right now. Ever since the maker, who was the original Ultimate Reed Richards, ever since he broke bad and went back to Earth, and went and created this new universe, that is that's sort of what am I even getting at here? Sorry, something caught my attention over there while I was waving my hands. There it is, Timon. Chalk up another train loss to my ADD. But anyway, back to the point. I got to get Vampirella off the screen. That's going to distract me. But Ultimate Universe. Right now, it is that, like I said, it is that evolving, rolling narrative. Everybody is, the characters we see are in more adult situations. It's less, we're being invaded by evil robots, and more like, there is I'm Black Panther. There is a border war happening on like my borders. We have to go deal with that. Things like that. And it's great. It like I said, like I've been praising, I highly encourage everybody to check it out. The four main architects of this were Jonathan Hickman, Dennis Camp, Peach Momoko, Brian Hill. Spider-Man, Ultimates, X-Men, Black Panther. And, they've been doing a great job, and it's been fantastic. So, color me shocked, color me surprised to learn that, I did pull up the wrong one. Let me get the right one real quick. Yes. So imagine my shock when I found out that Donny Cates, the writer for Venom Volume 4, which if you guys have not read it, that is the volume where we started, he introduced Null, he introduced the King in Black stuff, Dylan Brock, the idea of Eddie being, the multiversal King in Black. A lot of the stuff that we are seeing now in the Venom mythos, both in the comic books and, in the movies, in the video games, both Marvel Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac and Venom The Last Dance, they all hit that, dragon symbiote, plot line from Null. I think Null makes a voice cameo in Spider-Man 2. I know there's a mission where like Miles has to crawl, like he gets like tagged by the symbiotes and somehow like his mind is in the hive and you have to like crawl through and break out. And I'm pretty sure Null talks to you there. And then, Andy Serkis was Null for all of 2 seconds in the movie. But all that to say, Donny Cates is a very prolific writer, or was a very prolific writer over at Marvel, until 2023, he unfortunately got in a major car accident, like a near fatal one. He went into a coma for 6 months. He does not know, like, he has a giant blank, like, bit of memory that he just doesn't remember anymore. And so when he got into his accident and he went into recovery, he took a step back from comics. And so, at the time, I don't think there was a big disruption in what he was doing. His Venom stuff had already come to an end. He was working, or his Thor stuff was long over. I believe at the time he was working on a Hulk run, which was, I know people like it, but if you come off of Immortal Hulk from Al Ewing and Joe Bennett, which is probably the most like modern definitive Hulk story, you come off of that and you try to sort of ignore all that and turn Hulk just back into like a raging monster that Bruce like controls. It's weird. It gets odd. So, but yeah, for the most part, he went and everybody went, oh, that's weird. And then we learned he was in a car accident and we went, oh, that makes total sense. Thankfully, he's okay. He just announced that he is starting to come back. He'll have some books coming out later this year, creator-owned stuff. Very, very excited for him. But yeah, so Cates, and so if you read that Venom run, even if you don't like the Clintar stuff or the Null stuff or the symbiote dragon stuff, like I don't. I really do not like any of that stuff for the Venom like story. But Cates is he's a really good writer, and he at least makes it fun. Like I enjoy every time I read King in Black. I like reading it. I like reading that Venom run. Again, not everybody is all good ideas. Not everybody is all bad ideas. So, regardless, all of this to say, the reason I bring up the Ultimate Universe, the reason I bring up Donny Cates, the reason I bring up Venom is imagine my shock as somebody who loves, Cates' work and the Ultimate Universe to discover that, oh God, that's not the one I wanted. I don't want to look at Kiki Palmer anymore. Yeah, so earlier this week, we learned that I did split this story up into two pieces to make it easier to read. So let's start with one and we'll start with the other. Pardon me. So the big news was Donny Cates. So we actually learned a little bit ago, like a couple weeks ago, from Hickman himself, that Ultimate Spider-Man was not supposed to be his book. It was actually supposed to be Donny Cates's. That was the first time we ever heard anything about that. It was kind of like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. Fast forward to last week when Cates went out and he gave, his sort of return interview to Popverse, and he revealed himself that not only was he the initial architect of Ultimate Spider-Man, or like the writer who was initially attached to Ultimate Spider-Man, he was actually setting up all of the Ultimate reboot, right? And what's crazy about that is, so he was setting up all of the Ultimate reboot. He had written some scripts for the Ultimate Invasion crossover, which is where, I think that is what I had open. Yeah, I can show you guys real quick. So that is this crossover. Where's a good page for us to, something exciting for us all to look at. Here, yeah, we'll go to this one. So in this Ultimate Invasion series, this was the one that kicked off the Ultimate Universe reboot. It saw Ultimate Reed, the Maker, escaping from his Earth 616 prison. He made a portal back to Earth 6160, and as he goes back, what he does is he starts changing it, right? So he basically reignites his universe and starts manipulating it to make it the perfect universe in his mind. So if you guys don't know anything about the Maker, I'll take a step back for a second, but there he is. So yeah, like the Maker, his whole deal is that in the original Ultimate Universe, 1610, that Reed, after seeing Ultimatum, after seeing the death of the Ultimates, death of Spider-Man, all that stuff, or not death of Spider-Man because that comes later, but Ultimatum, just all the wars happening between the Ultimates and foreign governments. Reed tells Sue, and he's like, what, why don't we make this a better place? And she's like, we're fighting every day. And he goes, no, we can make it a better place. Like, we have the knowledge. Like, we're smarter than, like, we can do this. And that leads Reed to break bad to the point where he's like, he gets obsessed with that idea of, I will make a perfect universe where nobody is sad, where everybody lives like happily, everybody is at peace, we prosper, we go into, you know, the future as humanity, we go into the stars, so on and so forth. That's what Reed always wants, and that's why his name, or his moniker rather, is the Maker, because he wants to be the maker of, you know, society, of the new perfect world. So when he goes back and he restarts the Ultimate Universe, what he does is he starts, you know, picking and choosing who gets their superpowers. You know, as we see on this page here, he goes to the science experiment, and when the spider is coming down to bite Peter, he grabs it and he, you know, puts it in a little thing, and boom, Peter no longer he is not our Peter Parker. He is now, there's no Spider-Man. And as we see when Spider-Man kicks off, you know, Peter is like 35. He's older. He's not our teenage Peter. Now, what was particular, before we get into the articles itself, before we get into what Donny was actually going to do with it, what was particularly crazy, and I was talking about this with Andrew after Foil Variant last night, is the fact that, let's see, I just got to pull it up real quick, guys. So, Cates, if you guys have read it, or maybe heard me mention it, but in Cates' Venom run, one of the earliest plot lines that he hits on is that the Maker, you know, is in Earth 616, and he wants to study Eddie's symbiote. He wants to study Eddie's King in Blackness, all that connection with Null and everything, because he is looking to get back to his universe. That is actually, we don't know that early on, but as we get to the close of his story, that is what he's like, that is the goal I have been working towards this entire time. That's all I've like wanted. And, you know, he even acquires the Venom symbiote from the Ultimate Universe, which is a, you know, symbiote here is an alien. There, it was like a chemical creation substance thing. Like, it was supposed to cure cancer. He, you know, he wears that as a suit to travel between universes. Like, it's this whole crazy setup. But Cates started using the Maker here. This is the Maker's first appearance in the Venom run. This is issue 7. This came out in 2018, which means, you know, Cates, you know, as we'll get into, Cates reveals that this Maker plot was leading into the actual reboot of the Ultimate Universe. But as Andrew and I were like sort of in like awe of it, nobody said it, like nobody knew anything. Or how do I put this? 2018 is 7 years ago. You know, the Ultimate Universe relaunched last year. So let's say 6 years since this issue hit stands, which means there's probably, you know, 6.5 to maybe even 7 years when Cates wrote it. I don't really know. It all depends on their schedules. But let's say, we'll be conservative. We'll say 6. 6 years, Cates was building all of this up, and, you know, nobody pointed it out. Nobody said, like, this is going to be an Ultimate Universe reboot. We do see later on here that, so where this plot actually eventually goes is the Maker does he does activate a portal. He does find his way back home. And what happens is he actually makes it, as you can see here, he makes it back to his universe, 1610, right? He wakes up in the middle of Manhattan. He sees all of these billboards saying, like, where are the Ultimates? Spider-Man is dead. Everything is in flames. Definitely much different from when the universe got destroyed in Secret Wars. Right before Secret Wars happened and all of the incursions, Earth 1610 was, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a great place to live, but it was cruising along. It was stable in terms of existence at the very least. So this was I remember reading this issue, and it's a big shock because what happens is, I believe, I forget who it is. Who the hell is Virus? It is, I forget which symbiote Virus is, but yeah, Virus comes in, starts trying to attack Eddie and the Maker. In trying to attack Eddie, he throws a a pumpkin bomb, at the portal that the Maker is working on. It blows up the controls, makes it go haywire, sucks everybody in, and shoots them to different universes. The Maker had no idea. Like, we didn't know that he was trying to get back home until this issue that I'm looking at. This is issue 27. And yes, when he does, he ends up in the, like, smoldering ruins, and he goes, this is perfect. And unfortunately, that is the last time so without knowledge of Donny Cates having written this, what was really weird was we end here, we don't see the Maker, and then when we pop back up to him in the Ultimate Invasion story, it is a completely different take. Like, none of this kind of is in play. He doesn't have the symbiote. He doesn't, 1610 doesn't exist anymore. He goes back and makes the universe, like he restarts it. There is another plot that I won't get into because it's really, really complicated and long, but the Maker was working with a group called the Council of Reeds, which were an interdimensional group of Reed Richardses who, combined their brains to solve problems. But as we see with those stories all the time, they got too utilitarian and stopped like thinking for solutions and more just like, how do we end this really fast? And our Reed didn't like it, and so on and so forth. Let's fight. But yeah, so all of this went nowhere, and it was really weird. A lot of us just chalked it up to, okay, so that there were one of two options for a long time that comic book readers kind of leaned on, which was one, Marvel just, decided to do something else, which happens, weird, whatever, but it was more acceptable because we didn't know that all of this was necessarily building to that. A lot of us thought that this was going to be like a Venom specific arc where the Maker goes back, he's in 1610 here, and then he comes back, or Eddie goes there. Like, it wasn't going to be a thing. It was just going to be sort of like a 1 or 2 issue gimmick. So because of that weird mystery that Cates was able to uphold, everybody, oh, they went in a different direction. Everybody went, okay, whatever. And then the other option was what I just explained. Like, oh, maybe that was just a Venom specific arc, and Cates' accident means that, he's not going to be able to get to it. Which, again, we all went, makes sense, right? Like, the guy he's not conscious. I'm not going to expect him to get back on the horse and dive into his really, 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 like, deep, long-running ultimate plan. But, all that said, yeah, earlier this week, last week, Cates had his big interview with Popverse, and he revealed that, among other things, not only was he the original architect of all of this, which I kind of did this out of order, and that's just sort of because I love the Maker, guys. He is my favorite, easily, I would probably argue my favorite current Marvel villain. Like, I love the Maker. As Oki points out here, the Maker is Reed Richards if he was evil and not useless. And that's fucking terrifying. Right, Oki? Like, the smartest man in multiple universes breaks fucking bad? Holy shit. Like, that is crazy. Oh, yeah. Caveat says, I like checking out the pages to get great ideas for paneling. Oh, yeah. I'll always show you guys pages. That's not what I'm dinging myself for. The narrative, the way the flow of my segment here, I have been really, really fucking up for no reason. And I've been pinging around, and yeah, it's because I see the pages and I just want to tell you guys all this stuff, and I want to show you, especially because it's the Maker drawn by fucking our boy Iban Coelho, and Iban is just like, make him the permanent artist for all things symbiote, all things stretchy. The man knows what he's doing. So it would have been so cool. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Yada yada yada. But, yes, Cates revealed that not only was he the original person building all of this up, which means that everything we just reviewed, that was one of the things that took me by surprise, was like, oh shit, that actually was supposed to connect to all of this. Like, that's actually really, really impressive. You kept that quiet for 6 to 7 years. All the pieces were in place. Like, it was working. If it were not for the fucked up hand of fate, we would have had a Donny Cates Ultimate Universe, which, I know a lot of people don't necessarily like his work. I mean, that's just any creator, right? Some people like him, some people don't. I know my audience here is divided on whether they like him or not. They like some things, they don't like some things. That's life. But what I may or how do I transition into this? While we can stay up till the cows come home talking about what Cates might have done with his run, and we could doom and gloom it, or we could go super optimistic. We at least have a little hint at what he wanted to do. And surprisingly, so this is where I want to tie it all into, the growing up, the adult fan, somebody growing up with you from the jump. And this is where I feel like I could have, yes, Hickman, my fucking man, probably my favorite writer right now. Love what he's doing. Would not trade the series for the world. But even with the unsuredness around Donny, what he, revealed gave me that confidence that, like, okay, you at least understood the assignment, even if maybe I didn't like the font you typed it in, or maybe I don't like the color choice you use for the text, something like that, right? Because Cates revealed that, like Hickman's pitch, so before I get into that, what happened, ultimately what happened with Cates and Hickman in terms of writing everything is Cates went into, he got in his accident, he went into the hospital, Marvel went, oh, fuck, we need to, we're not going to, push him, but we need to, thing is coming. And so they ran out to Hickman, who was currently in a lull after prematurely leaving his Krakoa story before properly ending it. And they said, hey, can you help us out? Can you do this? Can you do Spider-Man? And he went, all right, I will do it. And yes, there are many major differences between not just, Cates' Spider-Man and Hickman's Spider-Man, but also just the overall plans for the Ultimate Universe. Case in point, the big one is Cates was having it be the original 1610, and Hickman decided to make it a whole brand new reboot into the 6160. But yeah, Cates came out and he said, I know there were changes. I know they didn't use my original script, but I'm okay with that. I've talked to Hickman. We are still friends. We're still peers. We're totally on good terms. I love what he's doing with the book. And here, Cates even admitted, he's like, I know there should be some, everybody wants to hear something salacious, or, Marvel Comics screwed me over. But it was really, Hickman did not feel comfortable biting off of somebody else's work, especially when that person was they were only unable to do the work because, he's in the fucking hospital. So Hickman was just like, I don't feel right taking plot points from a guy who's dying. That just feels wrong. So Hickman went out and he did all of his stuff kind of independently. What's crazy is that both he and Cates locked in on this idea here that, Ultimate Spider-Man was always going to be about a grown-up, married, adult Peter Parker. And as Cates gets into here, I'll just, you can read the full article on Bounding Into Comics. You probably don't want me to sit here and just go through text over text over text over text over blah, 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 blah. But essentially what Cates was saying is that his approach to Peter was, or Peter and the overall Ultimate Universe was, he wanted to flip the regular Marvel story canon, what have you, and make it so instead of these events happening to these characters and they get the powers and then they have to sort of get pushed into the the hero life after that. Cates wanted to explore that idea of what would these characters choose, right? And that's what we sort of see in the we've moved past it because that was an early plot point, but for Spider-Man in particular, the origin boxes, the boxes that young Tony Stark was making that had all of a given individual's, this was supposed to be yours, your powers, your suit, go for it. That, that's how we kick off Ultimate Spider-Man 1 with Peter going, I've been given this box, I have a family. Like, what do I do? What's the responsibility here? And then, that leads into one of the best scenes in a long time where he talks with Mary Jane, and they're such a good couple. Like, Hickman portrays them as such a good couple and communicates it so well that, like, Peter doesn't even tell Mary Jane what exactly is going on. He just kind of tells her vaguely, like, look, I need to change. I need something. And she doesn't press him because she trusts him. She only asks him one question. Does this change anything between us? And he goes, no. And then off to the races because they're a good, healthy couple. But, yeah, Cates and Hickman both wanted that adult Peter Parker. And to Cates specifically, as he explained to Popverse, the reason he, like, we don't know exactly, Hickman probably had the same thing, but specifically for Cates, the reason he wanted to do that for Peter was because of Marvel's insistence of keeping Peter in 616 a perpetual kid, right? Always immature, always single, always unmarried, always struggling to look for work, always, one day away from getting kicked out of his apartment, which they believe is the only way that character stays relevant and, people can connect to him, which is complete horseshit, as we will get into. And we've talked about that a lot on this show over the past few years. We will probably talk about it a lot in the coming years, but we'll also get to it in just a little bit. So, annoyed with that, Cates specifically said that he wanted to make a grown-up Peter Parker for the fans who had grown older and no longer had a Peter Parker for them anymore, right? And that speaks to that je ne sais quoi that I was just talking to Donut about, which is, Spider-Man is probably my favorite, most important, most influential, most everything fictional character of all time, right? Read all, I was 9 years old checking out the fucking essential editions of Amazing Spider-Man, reading from issue 1 all the way through to 400, whatever the hell they were collecting at the time. A lot of my personality, you can probably, personality, philosophy, you could probably draw direct links to some iteration of Peter Parker, of Spider-Man. And I liked, I always liked him for the fact that, he did grow, he did change. He, like most of us who have identified with Peter Parker, I was a nerd, right? I was fat. I got bullied a lot. I got picked on for liking, weird things, liking literature, liking video games. I went through all of that. But I see Peter going through that, and I go, man, at least somebody else sort of kind of gets it, and he's cool. And then I see him grow as a person, and, he goes to college. He dates Gwen. He dates Betty. He dates a lot of people before he eventually marries MJ. And then after marrying MJ, he eventually gets to the point where they're going to have kids. And he decides, hey, I'm going to be a father at this point. I'm going to hang up the webs. Ben Reilly, you are Spider-Man. That's how Ben became the Spider-Man for 5 years in the 90s, is because Pete said, hey, Mary Jane had a kid. We're going to go, do that proper, and it's all on you now, Mr. Single Uncle. And he joins the Avengers, and then he eventually it's super controversial, and we can have a big long talk about it because I don't necessarily like it, but I also, maybe it's a bit of just, it was what was happening when I was a kid, so that's why I kind of roll with it. But he does what he thinks is right and tries to grow up by joining the registration movement and taking his mask off on TV. And then he sees, oh, fuck, I can't, I fucked up. And then he had to deal with that. Everything up to, Aunt May getting shot in Back in Black. Peter was growing and he was moving forward. And that made me go, there is, an aspiration, right? Even if I feel like I'm not going anywhere, if I feel like I'm a loser right now, Pete did it. Pete is one of us, right? Let's go, Pete. You've shown me, at the very least, I can strive to be Peter Parker. And, no matter what I have to deal with, no matter how hard shit gets, I can get to the point where I have a hot wife and, you know, a successful marriage and all of this cool shit. And then one more day happens, and they start throwing him into the constant loop we're in now, where he has a little development, and then we kick him back to the curb, and he has a little development, and we kick him back to the curb, because that is what the public knows. Like that's the version that we always hit in the movies, that we always hit in the cartoons. It's always wimpy, dumb, or not, sorry, wimpy, extra nerdy, like socially inept Peter Parker. Which, just side note, from the jump, that's not even an accurate portrayal. Peter Parker was like a proto school shooter. Like, go read Amazing Fantasy 15 when Flash Thompson is like, what? I won't, like, why would we invite Peter to the dance? He's a square. Peter is like he's crying, but it's like angry crying. He's like, I'll fucking show them someday. They're going to be sorry. And then he like walks into the science experiment. So, hold on. It's fucking hot in Arizona, guys. Good Lord. So yeah, once we started hitting that loop, now I know, you know, Andrew and I have talked about this. I've heard this from many Spider fans. He's not the hero we want to look up to anymore. And that sucks, right? I don't want to see somebody who just continually fucks up his life in the same way and refuses to grow up, refuses to do anything better. You know, well, like, to give it a more personal bent, again, to show you guys what we're talking, or what I'm talking about, when, over the last few years, as I've talked about on the show, I've gone through some, like, really rough periods. I've lost, like, you know, romantic relationships that meant so much to me. I've lost friends. I've lost, you know, jobs. I've had, you know, the shit rain down on me. And one of the things that always, you know, anytime your life sort of starts to crumble or things go really hard, a common piece of advice, which we've all given, it's not bad advice, but I don't know what the fuck Fahrenheit is, Timon. Are you kidding me? I'm an American. It is currently 95 here. 95 degrees something. I don't know. What does America use? I don't know. I don't do science. I don't do math. I don't do numbers, all right? Go to another stream. Wrong type of Asian for that prompt right there. But still sounds fucking hot. Oh yeah. So, you know, a lot of people always tell you, and it is true, even if it sucks to hurt, or like, even if you don't think it helps in the moment, it's true. It's just one of those, like, people will say it, not because they're dismissing you, but because they don't really know what to say. But it's always, you know, you will grow from this. You will learn from this. You will be able to someday get over this and move forward, and life will get better. When you're in those deep, dark moments, even when people say that, even if you inherently know it, it's really, really hard for your internal self to believe that. And what really helps in those moments, or at least for me, and I, like, again, these are unhealthy moments, and my response is unhealthy in turn, but in those unhealthy moments, I look outwards for examples, right? Show me somebody else whose life has fallen apart like this and they've recovered. Show me somebody else who is single at 35 and found like the love of their life, right? Like, I know better. When I'm healthy, I go, look, even if there's no evidence, it can still happen if that's what I want for my life. But when you're in your head, it's hard to break out of it. So for me, when I was going through all of this stuff, obviously threw myself really hard back into comic books, and I'm reading, you know, I'm catching up on Peter's adventures, and I'm just seeing all this shit. I'm just like, why do we keep going back and not growing? Like, what are we doing here? And it became depressing, because it was like, oh, I've been, you know, aspiring to be and follow a guy who doesn't want to do any of this. Like, okay, I know that things can get better if you try and you move forward, but who is this fucking loser? Like, this guy sucks. And, yeah, so when you stop letting a character grow at all, that's what starts happening. You start making him, you know, that reader who jumps in right now and starts reading Peter with let's say, like, the next relaunch, Amazing Spider-Man volume fucking whatever, you know, 1200 #1, they get into that story, and let's say they're fucking jazzed and they love it, and they are in that perfect like 9-year-old age where it connects with them, and they become a mini Mav, and they imprint on it, and they're all about it. Well, that, yeah, okay, cool. You got that fan now. That fan is going to become another one of us, another one of the ones who says, what the fuck, as soon as the next arc starts and you reset Peter. That reader is still going to go, oh, even if they don't know it, even if they're just a kid, it's one of those subtle things where it's like, oh, he doesn't, improve. No progress is made. Why do I care? Like, why do I want to see this guy? So you might get that one burst of new readers from a relaunch, but it will never last if you continually keep fucking resetting everything, because you'll just keep adding, to use a sort of slightly dehumanizing analogy, but I think it's okay because I'm part of the example. It's like if you, what's the best way I want to put this? You are, I don't know, that I had a metaphor, it dropped. As I thought on it, it's not that good. It would have been complicated. Let's move on, class. But, yeah, so, if there's no growth, nobody wants to follow those characters anymore. Think of, for example, the Spider-Man newspaper strips, right? They're all good. They're like written by Lee, like the original ones, and they went for like, they didn't end until like 2018. They went for a fucking long time. But a lot of people, sort of tuned out, didn't really, it doesn't get that diehard reputation because it's just sort of retreading the same things week in, week out, yada, 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 yada. The biggest drama that thing had, or development, was when One More Day happened, and there's a panel where they're like, something happened. Pete woke up from a dream, and he's, in Aunt May's house now instead of with his wife. Let's go. So, as somebody who's with Cates there, yeah, one of the things that sucks, got it, is not having a hero, or not having our hero grow with us. As Oki pointed out here, Peter was already an adult when I started reading Spider-Man comics as a kid, and I never had a problem with that. So with him being like married and adult and all that stuff, and this is sort of what I was talking about with myself, but maybe it'll come across even better if I add Oki's example to it. But Oki, picks up Spider-Man as an adult, and he's reading Spider-Man's comics as an adult, and he's going, hey, Oki's young, Peter's an adult, he's still invested, he's still getting into it. It's not about, being specifically there at the same moment as that character, as a lot of publishers and writers want you to believe, how they keep, making all the teen heroes, yada, yada, yada. It's less about that and more about, here is somebody, who is moving, who is growing, who is also learning and going through life with me. It makes you feel less lonely, even if it is just fictional, because yeah, it's fictional, but look at all the writers and that have, locked in on that sentiment of Spider-Man and done it well. Your J. Michael Straczynski's, your Jerry Conway's, your Lee's, obviously, but even Bendis on that original Ultimate Spider-Man. But what Oki, Oki would hit the same point as all of us, which is if he doesn't see Peter growing anymore, he might have a different sense of it, but he'll go, well, this guy's a loser. I don't want to follow, or he's a loser. I'm not getting any satisfaction out of it. What's the point? Like, it's really, really dumb. So, yes, I like to, the first part of this story, of this article, I guess, or this point, is that Cates locked in with his original pitch for Ultimate Spider-Man. He and he landed on what Hickman did, and he clearly tapped into that vein of like, we want an older Peter Parker. We want a Peter Parker who is growing up, who keeps moving forward. One of the things he says in the interview is like, I was basically yelling at Marvel. Like, you have all these people clamoring for Peter and MJ, just fucking give them Peter and MJ. And the example he used was great, because he's like, it's like if Marvel's was a Chili's, and a bunch of people came in and started saying, we want ice cream. You're a Chili's. And then you go, no, fuck you. Why not? Like, you have it in the back. It's there. Do it. Like, Cates was just as frustrated with Marvel's inability to let Pete grow as the rest of us were. And that leads me to my second headline over here, which is it's more of a reinforcement. It's nothing new, but that was, you know, in the interview, Cates started, you know, diving more into the Spider-Man of it all, the editorial, and he hit, you know, the rhetoric of, basically. So as you can see in the quote here, Captain America was a Nazi and Peter Parker can't have a kid. This is sort of his argument that he makes about letting Peter grow up, about letting him grow. And he's right, because he says, I definitely need to go censor some of those. Sorry, AdSense partners. But so he, you know, he's talking and he brings up that point about Marvel really only thinks Peter, like, cannot change. He has to stay static. He has to stay the, nerdy, stereotypical Peter. Cates, like all of us, he goes, so I'll just read it, but quote, he starts by explaining the whole thing. So he goes, quote, the refusal was, they don't want to give him kids and a wife because the character is evergreen. Eventually, when you give him the wife and kids, eventually what's going to happen is either he's going to have adult kids and you have a grandfather as Spider-Man, or he's going to lose a child, or he's going to get a divorce. That's their reasoning, that it taints Spider-Man over time. And, you know, Cates shoots back. My argument would be he killed Gwen Stacy like a year into it. He broke that bitch's neck. He's okay. He's been divorced. All these things have already happened. The way I think of these characters is that you don't honor these characters by treating them as fragile. I think it's our job as the inheritors of the legacy of these characters to try to break them as hard as you can. And it's only in doing that that they will show you how strong they are. Look, every character survived the 90s. They can't be broken. If we didn't fuck up fucking mullet Superman dying coming back, and I mean Cap was a Nazi and Peter can't have a kid, what are we doing? Just say you don't want to do it. That's fine. And that's the like main point I want to hit here is, so just to address it, because it's going to be an elephant in the room, because this is a comic book, you know, I'm a comic book guy. This is we talk comic books here on the show. I run a comic book site, but the idea of, so I agree with Cates, actually, probably, I would say, on its face, 100% with his claim that, you know, to really honor these characters, you can't treat them as fragile. You have to throw them out into danger. You have to expose them. That makes it, you know, it's sort of the same logic as when you know, I'm sure everybody out here has heard this advice, whether they've taken it or not, but when you get a new car, you kick it and you put a ding in it, because now that it has a ding in it, you can drive it. You don't have to freak out about keeping it in pristine condition. You can, like, go. You can actually use it. And yeah, so, you know, take the toy out of the packaging, use it. That's what, you know, that feels real. That makes your characters feel dynamic, alive, original. For another example, it's sort of the same argument I always do with, you know, when a company or a studio or whatever wants more representation or more diversity or whatever the hell. When they do that, you know, when they go, oh, we're gender swapping them, we're introducing a new black character, we all automatically go, okay, they're not going to die. They have plot armor. They're going to get a different treatment than other cast members. And we see that a lot when whatever show it is, not just necessarily a Marvel show, but regular, you know, 911, Law and Order, whatever. They always talk about how, yeah, we brought them in, but we had to be really sensitive about their portrayal and everything. And it's like, no, dude, if you really want to normalize something, you have to treat it like it's not a thing. The more you highlight it and the more you make it precious, the more you draw attention to it and say, like, this is something that you need to, like, inherently respect and honor. And it's weird. Like, that's just not how people or fiction works. And then in the sense of a superhero comic, that's definitely not what anybody wants. His idea of, you know, we got to break each character as hard as we can. I do think that there is something to that argument. However, I don't think it. What happens is that argument works really well if you have an actual like going narrative, right? Like start point, end point, like you see in manga, like you see in movies, like you see in anime and stuff like that. That's where that works. But if you are doing, an ever rolling series that continually refreshes and you continually reboot and stuff, that idea becomes like very, very, people take the wrong angle from it. And so if you are constantly resetting everything and you have this idea of, well, we have to keep breaking him, then instead of breaking that character in new ways, in different ways, with new challenges, you're just hitting him over and over and over and over and over again without any reprieve, which is, again, you can do that, but not all the fucking time. Nobody, like, I don't want to see yes, I know Spider-Man is a character who inherently struggles, and I'm not against that, but I don't want to see him, like, desolate every time I open a book with him in it. So that's all I have to say about, like, Cates' approach right there. Now, his other point about, I'm actually 100% with him, which is these characters can't be broken, so essentially, or how do I put this? He's right. Look at all the dumb bullshit they've done to superheroes over the year. Superman Red and Blue, Superior Spider-Man, Hydra Cap, what's another dumb one? Azrael Batman, right? Death of Superman. Here are 4 of them. Like, yeah, all of that happens and we do recover. That's not to say that it's, they're all necessarily good stories, but these characters are so beloved and timeless that they will continue on. If, we could have a book tomorrow where Zeb Wells is given full reign to just kill off all of Spider-Man's supporting cast, and they say, it is canon now that Mary Jane is fucking dead, like, on a universal, like, conceptual level. Okay, fuck you. Like, you just ruined that. But, there will be more miniseries. There will be more new universes like Ultimate. There will be video game. Like, it'll keep... Nothing will keep these characters, like, dead. Some of them might, cycle in and out of popularity, like Captain America or Wonder Woman, but they never stay dead. And that, it is a very odd thing, if you think about it, that really Spider-Man of all characters, like all DC, all Image, all Marvel, he's kind of the only one that gets this very, very kid glove, don't break it, it has to be this way treatment. And it's so very, very, very strange, right? Because aside from everything we've just gotten into about people wanting to grow with their characters, this is what happens all the time. As Cates points out, we throw characters into the ringer and we give them, weird things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But, like, you do something, you got to try, you got to do something. And yeah, so that I guess is, I don't really have a way to put a stamp on it. I guess I raised that last point because it's just so curious to me. As I was sitting here, as I was writing these articles this week, I just sort of was like, yeah, why is it only Peter that gets this specific treatment? Like, they, other characters get super marketed to hell and back. Batman, right? Okay, so for example, let's put Batman and Spider-Man. Let's compare them, because I would say they're probably, in terms of like merchandising, overall pop culture presence, they're probably close. Batman, over the last few years, has been allowed to have several different Robins. He's been allowed to have a son, like Damian. He's been allowed to have team-ups and become more, like, friendly and smiley than the brooding Dark Knight that we've always thought him, or, like, that movies and media have always portrayed him as. Batman has grown. Spider-Man has not, because everything keeps getting reset over and over and over again, which is like, Hickman hits on it, Cates hits on it, I've hit on it. Amazing might sell. Amazing does sell, unfortunately, right? In the singles, Amazing is one of the best sellers of every month. How much of that is because of like speculators or people closing out their collections, I can't say, but it's still, they are kind of, outliers can be ignored for this case right here because it's still a top seller regardless. You don't just get those people aren't enough to boost it to that level. But when you go to the trades, and Ultimate Spider-Man is always close, if not, a couple spaces ahead. So obviously people are reading, but then you go to the trade paperback numbers every month, and I don't know the last time I saw an amazing trade. Oh, it was at the start of Zeb Wells' run, the last Amazing Spider-Man trade to place on the sales numbers charts was the last volume of the Spider-Man Beyond story where Ben was Spider-Man and then he turns into Chasm. Like, that was the last time any of those entered. Ultimate Spider-Man, both volumes that are out right now, continue to hit like top spots every month. So what you're seeing is, like, to touch back on my example before, yeah, you're constantly, Marvel is constantly having to go, okay, we're resetting. Now we need to bring in that old guard because this new guard we know are going to get tired of it. And they're sort of, we either take them for granted and think they're going to be here, or we're just sort of like, whatever, we're focusing on that new one. And that cycle will repeat like ad infinitum, which is so much unnecessary work, because if you just, as Ultimate is showing, if you just let the story roll and you let things grow and you let things change, you pick up like readers as we go. People can jump on, like, me and Oki have been pointing out. Oki joined, like, he jumped on the Spider train when Pete was already an adult. I jumped on it when he was a teenager. I'm sure some people had jumped on it when he was, superior. Things like that. But, you don't, I just feel like continually throwing away a base you have to try and always entice in this smaller group. Obviously, like, this is the modern audience thing we always talk about, but I didn't want to draw a one-to-one because it's not quite the same, because it's not like we're looking for the wider audience. It's like we're looking for that, we're appealing to that new Spider-Man audience, and it's slightly different, but it's still that same sort of weird, okay, devil's advocate. Even if you wanted to take that angle, why do you have to abandon this one, right? What's really weird to me is that we get miniseries and relaunches all the time of various books that, here's a younger Superman. Right now, Superman Unlimited, or it's either Action Comics Superman or Superman Unlimited, one of those three series that's running. It's focused primarily right now on a Superboy story, like Clark Kent back in the Smallville days, Superboy, like, story. You can tell these stories still. You can make a mini series. You could even make an entire line that is more, anthology style, things like digest. You can do that. It's not, and that's what I guess me and Cates and all of us out there, that's what really gets us, is that why does it have to be a binary? Why couldn't you have said, okay, this is where Pete is now, here, let's keep going. And also, here's a new Ultimate reboot, or a new lines, call it like, Marvel movies, or like Marvel movie saga. I don't know, that's a really bad name, but something like that, and let those stories, go. Because here's I guess the big 1-2 punch that I'll wrap up this topic with, and I'll hit you guys up, and then we'll get out of here. But it is Marvel wants to say that this is okay. So this is like a big problem with comic books in general, but we'll focus on Spidey and Marvel for just a second here. Marvel wants to present this as nobody, like, Spider-Man is only at his most relatable when he is young. And that teenager, where Rocky, that 16, 17, 18-year-old mentality. Like, that's what they believe is the version that's going to sell. Here's the fucking problem. One, their base right now, so their fucking problem, both of these stem from their distribution, right? Because one, they fail to realize that the readers, their main base right now, are people who have been reading for a long time, who are generally more adult collectors. Because of the shift over the past like decade away from, putting comic books in newsstands, at supermarkets, at, very easily accessible places, even in scholastic book fairs, since we shifted away from that to putting them primarily in like bookstores, and even then like mostly in like comic book hobby specific stores, that, kills any sort of new entrance unless a kid is specifically going because he's like, I want this. Oh, 1 second, guys. I just gotta reply to a kind of urgent message. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Where was I? Oh God. Yeah. So that's like, that problem is, unless somebody is like, I am dedicating myself to going out there right now and finding this trade, that you don't get like that casual. It's really hard for newer fans, quote unquote, to kind of get in on these things. The reason you see such a big uptick, guys, in the last couple years in like teenage readers, it's piracy. Because those comics are so easily available for them, they can dive in. If those didn't exist, we would be in a much, much, much more dire place, because nobody would be reading these books. So they're already operating off of a false premise that this is the only way Spider-Man's going to be popular. Let's get that audience, ignoring their audience that already exists, yada, yada. But then again, to that end, the lack of distribution, right, means that you aren't bringing in those new fans in the droves that you think they are there. So if you're aiming to make your Spider-Man about aimed more towards new readers who maybe only know him from pop culture, why, you're not even putting it where those readers are. You're putting that shit in comic book stores where you have older folks who have invested or can understand narratives and resets and reboots and all that stuff. You're not advertising or even trying to pull in those new audiences. So it's this really dumb cycle of we have to pull in new audiences. Oh, why don't we have where are the audiences? We got to pull them in. Where'd they go? We got to pull them in. Where'd they go? And it's just it didn't have to be this way. What you're seeing at this point between things like Paul or the continued breakup of MJ and Peter, this is all editorial, right? This is literally, guys, in the past few months or I'd say past 2 years, or when did I take? So ever since I became the editor-in-chief of Bounding 2 years ago or whatever, right? Because I finally got to have control of the stories and I could write about shit that I liked instead of whatever stupid, YouTuber John decided to get his opinion from that day, I started taking hard aim at, Zeb Wells, Amazing Spider-Man, Tom Brevoort, just all of their insistence. I'm going to hold your guys' feet to the fire because you guys keep fucking up my favorite character. In my research, in my travels in this topic, I've never met anybody who has agreed with that editorial move. There's Brevoort and the other guys at the top, J. Michael Straczynski, Dan Slott, Nick Spencer, Zeb Wells even. They all were I wanted to do that, but Marvel said we can't do it. So what was I supposed to do? Nick Spencer was the one who got closest, and then they completely blew that up with Zeb Wells' run, right? So I guess where I'm going with that, I guess how I'll end cap this, my ranting here is that I'm glad, Cates heard us, Hickman hears us, the creators hear us. I don't know what it's going to take for Marvel to finally hear us. I would even appreciate if they just released some sort of information. What is your market research that is showing you this is what is the best thing for Spider-Man? Right? Because imagine, like I said, you have Amazing and Ultimate placing on the charts in individual issues every month. but only Ultimate is placing trades. Ultimate's only at 2 right now. If you had been, going on that sort of bent, I'm almost positive you would have had more Amazings hitting that top mark every month. So, yeah, shout out to Donny Cates. I'm glad he's okay. Very, very interesting to see that everything he was working on did not get abandoned and was actually the plan to bring back the 6160 or 1610. Kudos to Hickman for, rolling with the ball. Cates is absolutely right. Our characters need to be allowed to grow, because if they don't, then it just becomes like a newspaper strip, right? Charlie Brown, up until the last one, never kicked the football. Snoopy was always on his dog hat. Like, okay, there's a sort of warm comfort, like you're going home to your parents' house after a couple years at college, but after like a few days there, you're gonna be like, I want more. Like, I got to get out of here. Like, this was nice, but holy shit, I need to go to a bar. All right. That's all I have to say about Cates and Venom and all that. If you have some time this weekend, go read the Venom run from Cates. Go read the Ultimate Invasion crossover from Hickman. Go read Ultimate Spider-Man. Just jump into all of that. It's a good, we're about 2 years in now on the Ultimate reboot. Everything is pretty good. Again, Black Panther, even though I don't like it, I'd say it's probably just middling at best. It's just whatever. So, yeah, there's a recommendation for this week's Good Mab Ugly. Go check out the Ultimate Universe. And then, yeah, if you come across him in some way, if you're on your Facebook account, give Donnie some love. He definitely deserves it. Let's see. Shinkai says, seeing Peter being a teen in cartoons also only... hold on. Let me go to my main thing. Peter being a teen in cartoons also only really started when Spectacular came out. Before then, he was always college and adult. Now, even in cartoons, can't escape high school. Well, what it was, okay, Spectacular was, like you said, that was sort of a switch up. How do I explain this? Spectacular is like a coincidental moment, because that had, like, as Shinkai points out, when that show started, there was no MCU, there was no plans for Spider-Man, there was no Disney ownership of Marvel. So when they made that show, they were earnestly just like, let's tell a teenager version of Peter. Let's make a younger oriented one of Peter. It, like I said, that came and it went, but it kind of, when Disney bought Marvel, they schlacked it to the side. So you are right in that Spectacular was that break, but, and I don't think you're implying this is just, I'm going to use it to roll my sentence, Shinkai, don't worry. On the other hand, what really solidified Peter as, like, he has to be that high school kid were the movies. All of the movies, right? Spider-Man 1, the one everybody knows. Even if you aren't like a general Spider fan, everybody was there for that movie back in 2002. Opens with Peter being bullied. Opens with Peter, not being able to get on the bus, being ignored by MJ. So then, okay, cool. That's what everybody took away. That's what we sort of rolled with for a little bit. Then we hit Amazing, and they reset with Andrew Garfield, and they put him right back in that setting. So we're here again. Now the public is, like, associating Peter more and more with high school, with that era. Then we get to the MCU, and Tom Holland, I like him in Civil War. I actually do like him in Homecoming. I actually like Homecoming a lot. After, same thing that happened when they knew that, like, Miles Morales and Kamala Khan could be marketed, they took Peter and they said, oh, everybody was really stoked about Spider-Man in the MCU? It couldn't be just that it's fucking Spider-Man in the MCU. It has to be that everybody is latching on to this specific piece of it. And so that's why, Far From Home, everything that features Peter except for No Way Home. So except for Homecoming and No Way Home, they all really, really, like, baby and infantilize Spider-Man and Peter, which is unfair. It's not really who he is. He is not that like skittish sort of kid. I'd say the best handling of him outside of those two movies is Infinity War, when in the very beginning, when Tony is fighting the Black Order, and what's his name, the like the big dude, he's like knocking him around, and he like goes to like smack him with his like hammer or his axe or whatever, and you see Tony on the ground, and he like braces, and all of a sudden the axe just stops, and then like Peter like pokes out, and he's like, "Oh hey, were you doing something with this?" And then he like tosses it away and turns to Tony, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" That's a good Peter. That's even a good high school Peter. But like the I still fucking hate that joke to this day. When he's talking to Doctor Strange, and he's like, "Who are you?" Like, "I'm Doctor Strange." "Oh, we're using our made up names then." Okay, Spider. Like, I hate that. Or same thing when they did that joke again in No Way Home, when they're like, he's like, "My name is Dr. Octopus," and all Peter and his friends are laughing, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like, you just had a big purple dildo named Thanos walking around. Is Dr. Octopus that? Your name is fucking Spider-Man. What are we doing here? Like, so, yeah, it was really, as with the Marvel Comics, it all relates to, everybody has this really, the executives and the money makers at the top all have these really fucking warped ideas of what these characters are supposed to be. And they won't let anybody else in there to tell them what to do. So we get dumb shit like Peter is constantly in high school. Oki says, in a way, Peter's decades of stagnation could be seen as punishment for making a deal with the effing devil. I mean, yes, and I wouldn't be against that. And a good writer, if they ever decided to undo it, would probably take that bait, right? Like, it would be the smart move. Problem is, that would require Marvel to take an L. They would have to admit that the last few decades, God, oh my fuck, it's 2025 right now, brand new day, 2008, so yeah, almost 30 years or 20 years since that happened. They would have to admit, yeah, we fucked up, or maybe not fucked up, but they would have to admit, like, we kind of missed the ball with this one. We may, in years past, we may have gotten that to a point, right? Like, they'll make fun of Clone Saga nowadays. They'll make fun of Ultimatum nowadays. But the difference between like all of those reflections and now is we live in a society that unfortunately has made it, whether you're thinking about it or not, our society has defaulted to, I can't be wrong. And being wrong and showing any sense of wrongness is a weakness. Right? And that's from a social level, just on your, like, people around you, to our fucking president. And you know, if our president is acting like that, that's going to affect the decorum of the rest of us. So Marvel, I don't think they have it in them to go, all right, yep, we'll egg on our face, we'll take our L's. They've invested too much in this. Brevoort has defended it too much. It's never coming undone, I feel like, until it's the nuclear option. Either this is the last thing to save Marvel, or Marvel is shutting down, and here's the last issue we will ever publish, and here's the last page. Spider-Man and MJ are married. Timon says, everyone here got Peter as an adult. He graduated college in 78. But no, that's not how that works, because yes, was Spider-Man an adult when I was of that comic book reading age? Yes. Was I reading those? No. Like I said, I saw his cartoons and stuff, and when I first decided to do the comics, I just dove into those essentials. So I started with Amazing Fantasy 15. Again, I'm a weird kid. I was the one who liked going to the library after school. I was the one who liked comic books, so I dove into all of that stuff. I know I'm the exception. But I had Peter as a kid. And if I wanted to get technical, Ultimate Spider-Man was made for my generation. So I still, like the original, so I still had a teenage Peter to hang out with. Caveat asks, anyone here on Critic List? If you are, guys, let them know. That'd be awesome to connect. Personally, on my end, I'm not on it. And I really I'm not interested in it because... any platform that exists to provide like a culture war alternative to another one, I just don't buy. It never feels sincere to me. It always feels like, okay, you're going to run with this project for 2 months until it stops making you laugh, and then it's going to fucking blow up. It's going to go bad. It's going to stop working. So, yeah, you know, with them promoting themselves as like, oh, we're the anti-woke review site. It's just like, get out of here. Like, I don't, if you use the words woke or anti-woke or any of that shit, like, I immediately have lost respect for you, your business, whatever the hell you're trying to like do, because those words don't mean anything anymore. And if you think they do, then you're kind of dumb. Josh says, Superman and Lois masterfully balance the concept of a family man superhero. Sad that Marvel will likely never give Peter that. Closest you'll get is, let's just give him a baby and make him a moron. Well, first off, Josh, what's going on? I actually was looking for your help a little earlier in the show with a topic, but Marvel. Here's the what do I want to say here? You're not wrong, but you're also wrong, because no, they will never do that for the main Peter. Earth 616 Peter is never going to get back together with MJ. He's never going to have Mayday. None of that is going to happen. Fun fact, guys, like that is so little going to happen. In the 90s, when Peter was giving up his webs so that Ben could go be Spider-Man and that he could go raise a family, when MJ finally gave birth, Peter or Norman Osborn stole the baby. He got the nurses to tell MJ that they had a miscarriage, and he stole the baby. Never fucking mentioned again. Like, I'm not kidding, guys. That baby, nowhere. And you would think in the world of comic books, that's something you would mine the fuck out of. Gone. However, we are getting this in Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man is giving us exactly this, and it's good. It is like with Superman and Lois. It is an example that I want to see more of good, healthy, loving relationships, right? We need more aspirational fiction out there. Like, yes, there are the harsh realities of life, which is that conflicts can happen, divorces can happen, yada, yada. But we also need to, that's the reason we have Good, Mav, Ugly, right? We also need to highlight the good stuff, because otherwise we're just going to doom pill ourselves into being miserable, not improving ourselves, and just being, generally not stoked on life. It's super frustrating even more, Josh, because like in Cates' run, if you guys go read the Donny Cates Venom run, like I said earlier, a lot of that run deals with, Eddie and his kid and that whole dynamic. But when Peter, eventually, as he's wont to do, because it's symbiote related, it's Eddie, Eddie and him are friends on a real name basis at this point. When Spider-Man is in the interaction with like Dylan or Eddie, he is an amazing like father figure. Like, he is, to sort of like full circle it, if you guys get the chance, the last issue of Fantastic Four under Hickman's Fantastic Four run. He starts with Fantastic Four. Johnny dies. He ends the series there for a little bit and relaunches it as Future Foundation with, Sue, Thing, Reed, and Peter. Then after that, a little while, they bring back the main four book and Johnny comes back. So the last issue of that mid break, like when Johnny dies, in that issue, there is a story where Spidey goes to talk to Franklin Richards about his uncle Johnny dying. And it is incredible. So like, it's almost like, we're playing with our toys over here and we can do it. But don't let like the teacher see. If the teacher sees us, they're going to take it away. Because right now the teacher doesn't care, because they're focused on these kids who are actually doing the work like they asked them to. All right, we can play our Game Boys, but be quiet about it. Don't make it a scene. Don't make it a thing. Otherwise, they're going to come over here and say, hey, don't play your Game Boy anymore. Timon says maybe in the U.S. never saw an Ultimate Spider-Man book around here. That's Brazil. I'm surprised when you guys see like sunlight down there. But, obviously being in the U.S., I'm going to have more access to it because that's where they're made. Oki says, to this day, I still think MC2 Peter is the best future version of the character. I agree with you too. To me, that is the Marvel Universe's future. There is no Marvel Knights the World to Come. There is no X-Men The End. There is none of that shit. It goes whenever the heroic age we're in right now, whenever it ends, it goes into MC2. Peter becomes a cop. He, loses his leg in a fight with the Goblin, so he becomes a cop so he can still help people. Him and MJ know Mayday has powers, and they're there to guide and assist her. Oh man, to the point that I was just telling Josh about them keeping him a baby and letting him only be a grown up in like certain spaces. Renew Your Vows. That series, remember? Originally, Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, 5-issue miniseries made as part of Secret War, where it just, Battle World, Secret War, bunch of different worlds just mashed together. Pretty fun time. We've talked about it before. But in that, Renew Your Vows, 5-issue miniseries showing a world where Mayday was alive and Peter and MJ rolled with it. So popular that it got a dedicated series, still in its own universe, no 616 bullshit, and it went for 30 issues, which is, in this day and age, outside of a main book, that's pretty damn impressive. Let's see. Oki says, DC has gone through plenty of messy reboots as well. The main comic book version of Batman technically isn't even the same character that debuted in the Golden Age. But, okay, so my point with that was, yes, DC has gone through messy reboots too, but they also don't just outright abandon all of that stuff, right? Even when they decided, okay, we're going to have 2 different Batmen, they didn't just say, Earth 1 Batman doesn't exist. They straight up said, oh, that's the Batman of Earth 1. All of that happened, but it's that one over there. Marvel doesn't do that, right? With Spider-Man, they just go, yeah, we rebooted Spider-Man. He's here. Deal with it. Okay, yeah, you can have one over there as a little treat, but it's out of continuity, and we really don't want to give it a lot of attention, right? It's always so frustrating. Sakura says Japan always ends stories, unlike in the West. Now that's just false, Sakura. Japan doesn't always end stories. We have Detective Conan is still going to this day. What is that? I always forget it, but there's that manga about the police station. This is not a case of, Japan does everything perfect and the West sucks. You gotta, for you personally, Sakura, you gotta stop looking in that dichotomy where it's one is good, one is bad. Life is very, everybody, life is complicated. There is no single point of this is everything that's happening. There's multiple factors that could be influencing everything, right? It's to reduce things to that is a disservice to us, as people, as a species, and it's a disservice to you, because if you do that, you're just going to go down that rabbit hole of everything has to be divisive, everything has to be good or bad. I can't, be in the middle. I can't look and investigate things on my own. One sec. Okay. I'm getting to the comments now. I made it very clear. Oki says, if I had to guess, perhaps Spider-Man is treated differently because he was one of the first teenage heroes, if not the first, who wasn't someone else's sidekick. That is, so there might be a misguided perception that Spider-Man is at his best when he's kept close to his roots, even though starting out as a teenager meant he has more potential for growth than most Marvel heroes. I think you're right, Oki. I think there's an element of that, right? Yeah, you are the teenage superhero. But as you pointed out, and Timon and everybody pointed out a little earlier, that wasn't really, that teen hero definition of him really didn't get hit hard until the movie started coming around. Because if you guys remember, I bitch about this all the time. Pete only was in high school for 30 issues, so 3 years, and then he goes to ESU. And he graduates from ESU after another 4, real time in our world. So his time as a teen superhero was the smallest bit of his history. It would be a footnote on his Wikipedia page. You know what I mean? So yes, there, like, I agree with you on his potential and why there's probably that, like, I think that plays into now and why they started leaning on it, because it's like, oh, teen hero, not a lot of people have that, we can connect, da 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 da. But I do think a lot of it comes from the Hollywooding of it all. I think, like, if we didn't do like Fox and MCU and all that stuff, we'd be looking at a much different state for every one of our characters right now. Yep, Josh says, even more aggravating when you see Miles become more of an adult than Peter, even when they exist in the same continuity. Don't even get me started on that. Like, Andrew and I talked about this with Ultimate Incursion last week. Like, yeah, you can have Miles, and yeah, he can be more experienced, but I don't know. It's just, yeah. What more is there to say about the way they glaze the hell out of Miles? Do. Yep. I was at the mall in Connecticut. They opened a Newbury Comics, which, for those of you guys who don't know, is a pretty big retailer. And it turned out to be like the new version of Hot Topic with a comic-heavy skin. I mean, unfortunately, that is what our hobbies have been reduced to. GameStop is sort of the same way, right? It's shitty company, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't sell video games primarily anymore. It's really, you go into a GameStop, wall-to-wall Funkos, action figures, video game related tchotchkes like mugs or posters or whatever. It's the merchandising is what's selling, and it's a bummer because that's what happens. I'm sure you guys are all like me. You love going into a store, like a comic store or a video game store, even if you're not necessarily going to buy something, because you get to look around, you get to see like, oh, I didn't even know that variant existed, or oh, check out that toy, or go, oh, holy fuck, volume dealer, look at this, Batman #1 hanging on the wall. That, like, and yeah, that doesn't exist now, because now you just go in and it's, oh, look, it's Stranger Things Funko Pop. Great. Let's see. That's what I'm talking about. What's going on, Pyro? The only sign of weakness I show is towards anime girls and Padres gear. I was gonna get to that as we closed out. Just hold on. Let's see. Caveat says not a fair assessment of critic list. Blaine says the same things against both. That's fine. I might not have you might disagree with my read, but that is my read of it. I don't care. I don't engage with the culture war. If anybody has said, I'm giving you an alternative because this other site is like this, I don't use, instantly bad sell. Maybe I'll change my tune. And if in the future it becomes this great thing, I will eat my hat. I will absolutely eat it. I will put fucking steak sauce on it and I will chomp that bitch right here on stream. But as it stands right now, yeah, when you go, oh, we're an anti-woke comic company, we're an anti-woke news site, I immediately just go, nope, can't do it. Yeah, exactly, Timon. The majority of Spider-Man stories, he is in his 20s. Pyro's out of here. Later, my friend. Donut says, local stores are typically the best place for that feeling of seeing cool stuff that isn't just Funko Pops instead of big franchises. I 100% agree. I don't know how it is. Yeah, Donut, I know is, Donut's my friend. He lives in Canada, so I don't know how you have it. He says, there's a comic book store where I live that I love going to, but it's a bit of an inconvenient spot. That is sort of how we are out here. I have a couple, local spots that are cool to go to, but they're also generally smaller inventory and not necessarily in a convenient place, not in a mall, not in a strip mall or anything. They're sort of their own independent business areas. So, I want them to come back, but it's another victim of just the ongoing corporatization, right? As, things like GameStop took over, and as Marvel and DC started pulling their comics out of the, big places and only shoving them into the, niche stores, that's the sort of state we got to, or that's how we got to the state we're in right now. And I say that in reference to the fact that when I was a kid, I'm thinking back to when I was in San Diego growing up, comic book stores everywhere, game stores everywhere, right? I couldn't throw a rock without hitting a store, a game store, a video game store, and a GameStop, right? Nowadays, non-existent. All of my favorite comic book stores back in San Diego have shut down. The only one that really still exists kind of has to rotate its location a lot, and it's weird because you're kind of playing what do you call it, like hide and seek with it. So I agree. Like Donut is completely right. Always go support your local stores when you can. Go check out your local stores. If you feel like you aren't seeing any of that stuff, just do a quick Google search. I guarantee you will find something around you. But yeah, I think the issue that you got me to, Donut, is that these places aren't. We have to go out of our way now, right? Which is, I kind of like it because I'm pretentious and I'm like, what is that 4chan thing where it's like, don't you want more people to like the things you love? And it's like, no, because they'll like them for the wrong reasons. So I'm all for that. But I understand, like, on an industry business scale, it's sort of just a really bad situation all around where we are right now. But yeah, like, support your local stores. I think that's probably the most important thing to leave off on here is go find your local game store, buy their packs, buy their minis, go to your comic book store and pick up a trade. Yes, they're probably going to be a little more expensive than if you bought them online, but I do that all the time. I would much rather give an extra $3 or $4 to keep a cool establishment like that in business rather than like, oh, I'm gonna save that $4 for what? What the fuck am I? Taco Bell? No idea. Sakura says Marvel Mystic Mayhem. Nobody. I think we've run out of time. I'm getting hungry. I'm super fucking hot and sweaty right now. We'll probably get to it next week. We had a lot to talk about with Cates and the Ultimate Universe and growing up and all that sort of fun stuff. But yeah, remind me next week. We'll take a look at it. Timon says, never had comic book stores here. We had magazine stores that had all types of stuff from crochet, cinema, travel, cooking, fashion, music, cars, and comic books. We used to have those too. We used to have like magazine stands here in the US. Like I remember when I was a kid, I would ride my bike to a news, it was a magazine. It was like a news shop magazine store, but not just like a little like bodega style one. Like it was huge. It went into the back. Like I think it had like a deli. I'm pretty sure either the Armenian or Russian community in my neighborhood, like that's where they were always congregating or whatever. But I would ride my bike over there, make my way past the newspapers and the Sports Illustrated, and I would pick up my issues of Sonic. That just doesn't happen anymore. Marvel could hit so much success if they just put, or DC, Image, Marvel, anybody, put these books in places that like impulse buys happen or where people go. Put them back in the checkout counter at the grocery store. Put them back in the airport like bookstores. Do things like that. Anything that anybody ever wants to talk about why is the industry dying, why is this and that, there are always, dings coming from all sides with, content and creator attitudes. But for comic books, Western in particular, it's distribution. I mentioned it earlier, but, the Scholastic book fairs, they don't get their comic books anymore, but you know what they do get? Manga. Viz and everybody will put manga in those book fairs and they blow the hell up. Manga is in Target. Manga is in Walmart. Manga is in fucking like Food for Less. No Western comic books are. DC is on, like, their compact comics, I think are a very, very smart fucking move, and I support them a lot. Full stories in a manga size for $10. Absolutely phenomenal ideal. They just need to get better at distribution because I still don't see them anywhere outside of my comic book shop or like Amazon. So that's the big takeaway, I guess. Donut says, you're right about that, Mav. Even the big bookstores and stuff where I live are kind of shit with their comic selection. Yeah, I don't know if you were here for it, Donut, but I do want to use this opportunity to touch upon it again. That is like that distribution problem that you're talking about there, Donut. Like it's self-inflicted and it's cyclical because the comic book industry went, oh, let's take these out. Like we're going to stop, pushing towards the bookstores and we're going to focus more on the hobby collector stores, which just general warfare tip, guys, or life tip. It's not over till the fat lady sings. So I know Marvel was going, shit, we're getting blown out by manga. That's not where our avenue is, and DC and everybody. And so they went, let's focus on our core. But why? You don't have to cede all that ground. You didn't have to do that. You could either benefit from what little share you have or work to increase your share. If these compact comics had come out hot off the heels of like when Naruto was becoming popular in 2004, right? We would be having a much different conversation, like world conversation right now. But unfortunately, we don't. And yeah, so now a lot of, you go into a Borders, you go into a Barnes and Nobles, giant wall-to-wall manga, maybe like one standing island shelf, both sides at best for manga. It is a distribution problem. Oh yeah, Timon says those magazine stores don't exist anymore. I don't know where to buy comics other than maybe having a subscription to Panini and having to subscribe to other 10 other books I don't want. Exactly. Well, so that magazine store I was talking about, sorry if it didn't come across that way, like that doesn't exist either. That thing has been long gone. So like, yeah, those don't exist anymore. And then like you said, Timon, when you go, where do I go buy comics? You either have to go to a shop, or if you're an international customer where maybe you don't have one, you've got to go for a subscription service. And it's not easy, right? For example, when I go to the Philippines, there is only one Western dedicated like comic book shop in Manila, the big metro like capital of the country. Which is, I get it. Like it's an American medium, okay, Western I totally get that. But for an international fan, that's got to be ass, because you have to only go to that one place, or you got to go online, and then you got to vet places. You've got to yada yada yada. It gets mad complicated, and just nobody wants to deal with it. So yeah, that's probably a good place to end it. Is distribution sucks right now. That's the main industry like weakness right now. If they fix that, they're going to fix a lot of their problems. Marvel, let Spider-Man grow the hell up. Donny Cates, I'm glad you're okay. Fascinating to see what your original plans were for the Ultimate Universe. I'm very, very sad you didn't get to go through with them, because I love the maker. I loved what you did with him. Who knows? Maybe you'll recover to the point sometime in the future where you can come back to us, but don't rush. We appreciate your symbiote service as it is. And Timon says Panini publishes Marvel and DC here in Brazil. I knew that. Yeah, I know that because I see a bunch of Panini listings on, variant websites, catalog websites, yada, yada, yada. But, yeah, 3 hours. Amazing time, guys. Thank you so much for everybody hanging out with me tonight. From Caveat Ties to Pyro to Donut to Sakura to Timon to Shinkai to Josh to, let's see, am I forgetting anybody? Shinkai. Zero was here for a little bit. I know he was here. Oki, of course. Volume Dealer, if he's still hanging around. We had Dante for just a little bit. Freaking Punk was around. He, went to bed a little early. Can't say I blame him. Thank you, every single one of you, for hanging out with me. I could not be doing this show without your support, without your viewership. It warms my heart just to know that even in these shittiest of times, across the world, particularly in America, there are still those of you out there, both who chat with me actively, who watch me in the VOD. I see all of you out there. Don't worry. I love every single one of you for it. It's just the fact that there's still people like you out there who care about, like intellectual honesty, truth, and, positivity instead of doom posting, means the world to me. It's why I can keep doing this, and why I will keep doing this, and I'll keep dropping new news every day on Bounding Into Comics. Yes, guys. As always, check out boundingintocomics.com every day for new news. Come back right here, same Mav time, same Mav channel next week for another episode of Good Mav Ugly. You can catch me Monday nights over with the Bounding Into Comics crew on 01, where we discuss the big overarching pop culture news stories of the week. Thursday nights, Foil Variant with Andrew, where we talk the week's comic book releases. And then, like I already hit, wrap yourselves around, drop here next Friday, where we will hang out again. We'll talk some more bullshit, and who knows where the week will take us. But yeah, guys, with that, have a good weekend. Go read something great. Go check out that Venom run. Go check out some Ultimate Comics. Go play something you love. Go hang out with somebody you love. Remember, it's hard out there, but we've got each other, and there are still reasons to get out of bed in the morning. So, with that, everybody, from Zero to Donut to Timon to Shinkai to Oki and everybody else, I will see you in the funny pages, and then I will be right back here next time. Yeah, now I'm just going to start like rambling into weird sign-offs because I've already used all 3 of mine. So take it easy, everybody. I'll see you soon.
As the creator of Mara Jade,
Wait! I am not the creator of Mara Jade, and I want you to get out of this office right now.
I'm sorry, Zeb.
No way.
You brought
No
it on
way.
You brought it on yourself.
I don't want you here.
I'm so
Out.
sorry, George. I didn't think it would go like this.
Out.
Ted, I got your voucher.
Out! There.
I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry. We'll have him like burned and we'll
I don't
execute
even
him
know
and
who
burned.
that guy is.